everyone doing? I see we're already having some discourse about Wuthering Heights in the chat. We're gonna get to that later. We got some stuff to get through first, so hold your thoughts for right now. Happy President's Day, everybody. I don't know, President's Day really does feel like the most useless holiday. I guess it's nice because some people get the day off or they get time and a half and stuff, but it's like, what are you supposed to do on President's Day? Like, what are the activities that are supposed to be planned? I don't even know. And also, fuck every president. They've all kind of sucked. Some are obviously worse than others. We got an awful one right now. But I just in general, I'm not really here to celebrate the presidents. They work for me. Why would I need to celebrate them? Anyway, yeah, happy President's Day. It is also the next 5 hours. And I don't know, we'll probably not stream for the full 5 hours, but these are the last 5 hours of my 20s. I turned 30 years old at midnight tonight. I don't love that. I don't hate it necessarily. Like, I'm at a place where 30 doesn't feel that old. I'm okay with being 30, but it does just sort of upset me to think about the fact that, like, the entirety of my 20s is now just done. Like, I'm in a new phase of my adulthood, and I don't love that. So anyway, happy birthday to me in 5 hours, and 5 hours and 55, or 4 hours and 55 minutes. Of course, I'm an Aquarius. I'm a double Aquarius, I think. The last time I did my, like, birth chart thing, which I don't really pay much attention to that, but I think I'm a double Aquarius, whatever that means. But yeah, as you can see, Tiny Chef's pet cat, Miss Penny, has passed away. Very sad. Saw that a little bit before we started streaming, and just wanted to give my condolences to Tiny Chef. That really sucks. But anyway, let's get going with today's topics. We do have to, you know, every couple weeks, I do like to check in on what Miss Jojo Siwa is up to. And apparently and I think she's still going by Jojo Siwa at this point. I think maybe she's dropped the Joelle. Let's see. Oh no, she's still going as Joelle here, but still definitely being known as Jojo Siwa. So that's what we will refer to her as for the moment. But she did a speech at Harvard University. And you'll see why.
Just signed my contract. No, you don't sign contracts with Harvard. What do? You get accepted. I just got accepted.
Very funny, too, that the first thing she says is signed my contract. Because that's the experience that she has as a child star. Not getting accepted to an education academy, but signing a contract. That's all Jojo Siwa has ever done, is just signed contracts.
Can you tell I've never gotten accepted? I've only signed contracts.
Yeah, exactly.
Now. Just signed my.
But I was like, what the fuck does Jojo Siwa have to say at Harvard? Apparently, she's just promoting a brand. It's Belly Welly. Okay, go away. What the hell? Belly Welly Health, which is some sort of, like, I don't know, fiber thing? Electrolytes, probiotics, fiber, collagen. So she's just doing a sponsorship at Harvard. I didn't even know that they did that. You can just advertise your business at Harvard? What is that even? What? Oh, we're so lost as a nation. She said to be in a room full of brilliant minds, passionate entrepreneurs, and future change makers was truly unforgettable. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to do this. What a dream. Moments like this remind me why I love what I do and how important it is to keep showing up, keep learning, and to just keep going. You're just doing an ad at Harvard. Weird. And then Belly Welly Health posted. Oh no, that's her post. A clip of her actual like little seminar.
That must be what you're gonna do. No, you don't sign contracts with Harvard. What do you do? No, I just got accepted. Harvard, baby! That is awesome. Welcome to the Jojo Siwa course here at Harvard University. Jojo Siwa and Belly Welly have gone together so well. Why? Because Jojo Siwa actually likes Belly Welly. All the snapshots.
Like, what? What does this mean? What was the seminar even, what did it consist of? I couldn't even find any information on it. It is really like she just exists to like sell things for other people. It's so sad. Oh, yeah, and something about the name Belly Welly is off-putting. It's very like childish, which I guess kind of works for her brand, I suppose. But yeah, Belly Welly Health. I don't know anything about the brand. I've never bought any of their products. I don't know anything about the science or anything behind it. But I have to assume it's bullshit. Like, there's just no way that it's actually, like, something that's that good for you. Or at least not, like, something that you need. Something that's actually going to benefit you that much. It's probably just some fucking... It's like snake oil, you know? Is my perception. Again, not knowing anything about the product, but just knowing how a lot of these brands operate. But anyway, I do kind of want to talk about the Olympics a little bit, just because we haven't talked about it much at all, because who gives a fuck about sports? But I do have to start, even though this is not from this year's Olympics, this is from 2024, the Summer Olympics, which are way more fun. I hate the Winter Olympics. Like, if I'm gonna watch the Olympics, I want to watch some, like a fun gymnastics routine or something. I don't want to just watch people, like, sledding. I'm sure if you like it, if that's your thing, that's great for you. I hate the winter period. I don't want to watch winter sports. I don't want to watch people do things outside that's cold. I don't want anything to do with it. But just because I have to talk about ray gun at any possible opportunity. I would like to remind us all that at the 2024 Summer Olympics, there was a breakdancing competition, and this person, Ray Gun, who I guess she's Australian. I don't even know. There was some controversy with how she even got to the stage. I don't remember what the details of that were, but there was maybe some like nepotism or some networking or something involved. Like she somehow got there. Oh yeah, figure skating is great. I'll agree with the figure skating. That can be cute, but that's the only thing. But with Ray Gun, I don't remember how it is that she got there, but I remember there being some sort of scandal about it, that maybe she even somehow got to the Olympic stage in a way that wasn't totally fair, but I don't remember the details. But basically it was like the breakdancing thing became a part of the Olympics in 2024. I think that they're not gonna do it again. I don't know. I don't keep up with that stuff, but I think that they're done with it after this year, because this was the year that it got introduced, and Ray Gun might have just killed it fully, which fucking sucks, because it actually is like it is a skilled thing for people to do, to break dance. It does take a lot of like athletic ability, but not the way that Ray Gun did it. And I don't know if it was literally just her or maybe just the entire country of Australia, to be honest, because I don't think breakdancing is like a big thing there anyway. It's definitely bigger in like the US and then the UK. I don't know where else it's big, but I don't think it really reached Australia all that much. Or maybe it did, and maybe there are some incredible breakdancers in Australia that actually got really fucked over by Ray Gun. I'm not sure, but immediately when I saw it, I was like, oh, I guess this is just what Australia thinks that breakdancing is. But here's what Ray Gunn did. And this is not a great recording. This is just someone like filming their TV or something, because all the professional recordings of Ray Gunn got taken offline because of the amount that people were shitting on her dancing. But it's like, well, what do you expect, dude? You fucking did it at the Olympics. It was a televised event. People saw it. It did look ridiculous. It's fun. We can laugh. And that's probably the best thing that she could have done, was have a sense of humor about it, but she really did not. But here it is. Even some of his moves look a little lame, but I think that's just because it's the Olympics, so, you know, you are kind of maybe doing a somewhat dumbed down version of it. You're focusing on the athleticism a little bit more than, like, the dancing, more than, like, you know, the rhythm and the beat and everything. But even still, it's like, I think there's very clearly a difference in what the two of them are doing. But very entertaining, so thank you for that, Ray Gunn. That was... that was really something. You entertained us. And sometimes that's all you can really ask for. But moving on to this year's Olympics. So we have what is called Penis Gate, for one thing. I don't even know if this turned out to be true, but I guess, so this is one of the things they do ski jumping, where they go down like a hill and then they go up and then they jump, and I guess you're supposed to try to get, oh, are they both women? I might have misgendered the other break dancer, but whoever it is, the other person did a great job. Better than Ray Gunn, at least. But, okay, so ski jumping, they go down, then they go up, and then they jump, and I guess the farthest you can get is the best. I don't know how, what it is you have to do to get that far, I don't fucking know. But I guess a way that you can cheat, or at least a way that's been proposed as a method of cheating, is... people were maybe, and we don't know if this happened, I don't even know if this was an accusation that was directed at, like, some specific team, but there was an accusation that people might have been injecting their, I don't even think it was their penis so much as their balls, but maybe it was the penis too, I don't know, but injecting it when they, okay, so I have a diagram, actually, maybe this will help, of what people said was happening that I don't even think is necessarily true. So when they fit the suits to the athletes, the suits must be no more than 4 centimeters larger than the surface area of their body. So supposedly what people were saying is that they were injecting their dicks to make their dicks bigger when they got their suits fitted, and then once they weren't injecting their penises, then they had some, like, extra flaps or something, like they had a little bit more extra room between the crotch and the crotch of the suit and their actual dicks. So as you can see, athletes enlarge size of their genitalia when the suits are fitted. Excess material can create a sail-like effect. So people were thinking that there was, like, a sail effect from the loose suit material from their smaller dicks. I don't even know, man. I don't even know. And then, because this to me, I'm like, first of all, I don't even know if there was actually anyone that got specifically accused, or if this, because I don't remember any team being investigated, but they did say that they were going to investigate. I was like, how? And what? But this accusation got put out there, and I'm like, could it really make that much of a difference? Like, how much extra fucking material on the crotch, how much of that could actually make, like, a legitimate sail that actually got you that much further. I don't know. I feel like we need people to actually do it. We need someone to run an experiment to see how much it would actually help. Because I just feel like it wouldn't even help that much. Because the differences are going to be so marginal, you know? It's just like tiny. I really don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. Oh, really? Even a few centimeters can add yards? What do I know? But then it's also like, I did see something in here about, someone said something. I saw the corner of my eye. I don't know. Someone said something about tucking. And I'm like, that probably is more likely true. They probably get the scans when their dicks are just kind of like down. And then they just like tuck somehow when they're performing so that there is a little bit of extra room. Because that's like, I don't even think you need to go to the lengths of injecting your dick with anything. You just have to like put your dick into a position where it's not going to take up as much space. I feel like people can do that, right? I mean, trans women do that. Why couldn't one of these people do it? See, this is where we need to start transvestigating this, you know? We don't need to transvestigate anything. But the amount of focus that gets put in Trash, I didn't watch it yet, but Trash made a video about why don't we investigate trans men in the Olympics? This is like, I feel like a trans man could definitely have an advantage here if they didn't even have a dick. Nobody cares about that. We just want to attack the trans women. Possibly, like, people who we suspect are trans women. But this is just very strange. I was like, I just don't even... But whatever. And it's also none of my business because I don't watch the Winter Olympics. I don't give a fuck about ski jumping. If people are injecting their dicks to get a little bit farther, part of me is like, well, that's dedication. That's what you have to do. Apparently. Anyway, there was another cheating allegation. So someone drew this. I just thought it was cute. There's accusations of curling cheating. So now curling, you'll have to tell me if I'm correct how curling works. They have this thing. I don't know what they call that. I'm going to call it a puck because I don't know what it's called. But it's like a puck, and then they skate forward and they kind of like push the puck forward, and then someone is in front of the puck. This is all on ice. They're in front of it with these sticks of some kind, trying to, like, I don't know, melt the ice or something, make the ice more slippery so that the puck will go farther, and you're trying to either get it the farthest or get it to the other end the fastest. I don't really know. I don't understand curling, but I guess the thing is that you're supposed to like, oh, it's called a rock or stone. Okay, so the rock, you're not supposed to touch the rock after you've let it go. You just kind of let it go. You kind of go whoosh, and then you're done. But I guess what the Canadian team was doing, what they've been accused of doing, is pushing it a little bit further. So you can see this guy, he's definitely touching it. I mean, that's not even, it's not even debatable. And I don't know if we have an actual video of this, or maybe we do. I do have something in here that says video. What did past Jasmine give me?
You have to try.
Släpp 2 poäng.
You have to try.
Släpp 2 poäng i förra, men de ville helst inte det heller.
Nej, precis. Det var ju det.
It's okay touching the rock after the hog line. I don't know. Or touching the rock.
Who's doing it?
You don't know it?
Who?
It's a couple. It's a couple.
Who? I haven't done it once. You can fuck off.
You haven't done it once?
I haven't done it once.
Okay. I'll
Hey.
show you
My goodness, so aggressive.
a video after the game.
How about you walking around on my peel in the last day and dancing around the house here? How about that? Come on, Oscar, just
You want
fuck
me to
off.
show you a video?
I don't give a shit.
You
They
don't
were
know
standing
that?
here, they didn't call it.
That?
Yeah, go. Go. Keep going.
Nu är det bra.
Det här är Helt galet. Jag har aldrig sett något liknande på en curlingis. Det är öppet bråk.
Släpp 2 poäng i förra, men de
So then this is the video. You can see him go here, and then he does definitely kind of, yeah. No, you can see his finger go out. He like kind of flicks it in a way. Watch. Yeah, he's flicking that shit. He did that. He did it on purpose. Oh, that's crazy. You're on camera, dude. That is nuts. So that's the Canadian team. That's the men's team. And they were going against, was it Sweden? Tensions flare. Oh, yep, Sweden. Okay, so that was the men's team against Sweden. Now there's accusations also against the women's team. So you can see her there. I don't know if that's allowed, because that's like, definitely her hand is off of the handle thing. But then, I don't know, she's not like flicking it the same way that the guy was, but her hand is definitely on it, and I don't know if that's allowed. But here's a video of that.
Okay, I like it. Clean it. They're saying she touched the rock.
If it's touched, it's going to be removed.
When you like go?
0% chance.
If it's touched,
Go back.
Okay, I like it. Clean it.
Well, I don't know.
Okay, I like it.
She definitely is like touching it as her hand goes down, but I don't know if that's as bad as what the guys are doing. Because the guy did definitely like kind of flick it. I think that her hand just kind of accidentally touched it as her hand was moving down.
Clean it. They're saying she touched the rock.
if it's touched, it's going to be removed.
But at the same time, it's like, if that's not allowed, if you're not allowed to touch the rock at all, then yeah, if you're not allowed to touch it at all, then she's still fucked up. It might have been a mistake, it might not have been intentional, but that's still, if you're at the Olympics, rules are rules. You can't touch the fucking rock. You have to be better at the game than that. You have to be good enough to not accidentally touch it. So I don't know if the women were intentionally cheating, but that definitely, it looks to me like it's off, it's not abiding by the rules, at least as far as people in the chat are telling me, not that I know anything about curling.
0% chance.
Come on.
Another angle?
I've never done it in my life.
No, there's nothing.
Yeah, she absolutely does touch it. I think that part's for sure.
Come on.
Another angle?
I've never done it in my life.
No, there's nothing.
You can see your finger as it comes off.
Okay.
This is going to require some real...
Is kind of, even if I think she did it accidentally though, it is kind of suspicious that it happened, that both of these incidents are Canada. I don't know. I don't know. Definitely interesting. Now we have another instance of cheating, though this is a little different. This is not, oh shoot. This is not cheating in the sport, but apparently one of the athletes cheated on his girlfriend. She found out, left, and then he decided to go on TV. I'd play the clip, but he's talking in a different language. I don't know where he's from. But he decided to like talk about it in an interview. He said, "It has been the worst week of my life. I told her a week ago, and then it ended, of course. I am not ready to give up. I hope that committing social suicide can perhaps show how highly I love her. I am taking the consequences for what I have done. I regret it with all my heart." Go fuck yourself. That is so disgusting. To say, I am hoping that committing social suicide can perhaps show how highly I love her. No, you're trying to manipulate her. You're manipulating her. And embarrassing her. Like, how many people didn't even know that you cheated on her, that now she has to tell? She's like, yep, okay, I guess, yeah, you cheated on me. Glad he fucking publicized that. It isn't like a thing that most people want to talk about. Disgusting. Disgusting. And now, thankfully, I believe she did not take him back after this. I think that's actually, yeah. So she responded, she said, "It is hard to forgive even after a declaration of love in front of the whole world. I did not choose to end up in this situation and it hurts to have to be in it. We have been in contact and he is aware of my views on this." Stand strong, girl. Don't let him manipulate you. Disgusting. What a piece of shit. And I hate too, they were talking about it on The View, and some of the women on The View were like, "That is so romantic of him. She has to take him back after he did that." It's like, no, she doesn't. So what? Every time that he cheats on her or does something that makes her want to break up with him, he just has to go on TV and be like, "I fucked up, I'm so sorry," and now she can't leave. No. That's what he's trying to do, though. He wants the entire world to shame her for not going back with him. You're playing right into his manipulative little fucking hands. And that's all I had to say about the Olympics, because I just don't know what the hell is going on with them. Moving on to another instance of a man manipulating the public. So I guess Justin and Blake had some sort of court thing recently. It was to discuss a possible settlement, which is routine. The court requires you to meet like this prior to a trial just to make sure that you're serious. They're like, "We're going to give you a chance to settle, but in the hopes that, like, we don't actually have to go to a trial and it won't have to be a whole thing." Doesn't seem like they settled. Seems like we're still going forward. But people were making a whole big deal about the fact that they were color coordinating, both Justin and Blake. Now, at least this is giving me some flashbacks of the Depp v. Heard trial and the way that people tried to accuse Amber of copying Johnny's outfits. And at least here, it's like no one can say that Blake was copying his outfits. No one can call her like insane and obsessive for coordinating with Justin's outfits, because it's like they both showed up at the same time. How could we accuse her of knowing in advance that he was going to wear that outfit? But I also don't even think that they're that similar in color. I mean, yeah, okay, kind of like a forest greenish thing and then some sort of like peach or pink thing underneath it. There also is a lot of stuff. I mean, if you listen to Camille Vasquez, Johnny's lawyer, if you watch her do interviews or you listen to her do interviews, she talks a lot about the amount that her team was thinking about the color and the outfits and stuff that Johnny would wear to court, and they would wear different stuff on different days depending on if they were doing the cross-examination or if he was going on direct examination. So that is something that lawyers think about, is like, what's the optimal color to wear to a court hearing? And so I just don't know. I don't know enough about that whole color psychology thing that those attorneys do, but it's just not outside the realm of possibility for me to think that both of their lawyers were advising them to wear green and some sort of pink peachish color. Why? I have no idea, but they might just both be being similarly advised. But then a whole bunch of other people were also making a big deal about the fact that Justin did come with his wife, whereas Blake came by herself, and then people... It's like she can't win either way. She came by herself. If she had come with Ryan, they would have made a whole big thing about that, about how she can't leave, she can't do anything without Ryan, and she's trying to use his celebrity to gain points. That's what would have happened if Ryan had shown up. But since he didn't show up, now it's like, oh, now she doesn't even have a husband who will support her in this. She's completely alone. Whereas Justin had his wife there. And it's like, well, yeah, of course he wanted his wife there because that makes him look better. It's the same reason that Johnny had a female attorney. Because if you have a woman next to you while you're abusing other women, it makes it easier to undermine someone's claim, another woman's claim, that you're abusive. Because you're like, well, look, I have other women that hang out with me. See? Couldn't possibly be an abuser. Look at all these women next to me. Even though I fucking saw your proposal video, dude, and I don't really know that you respect your wife. But whatever. None of my business. Yeah, and also, well, her partner has a job. Exactly. Yeah, I'm sure, I don't know much about Justin's wife, but I have to assume that she doesn't have the schedule that Ryan Reynolds has. You know, he can't just, like, be wherever, whenever. But whatever. People are gonna shit on her for anything, including this resurfaced clip where it says, when a male in the Wrexham stands asked Blake Lively to say hi to his girlfriend, Blake's immediate and first response is pure evil. She replies that the girl should leave the man. What in the actual hell is wrong with this sociopath? Wash your nasty fucking hair, woman. First of all, her hair looks fine. Go fuck yourself. But also watch this clip.
Blake, can you say hi to Stephanie? It's my girlfriend.
Hi, Stephanie.
Thank you
You
so
should leave him.
It's a joke. God forbid a woman tell a fucking joke. My God. And then in another story of people vilifying a woman, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the Daily Mail has been up to some fucking shit recently with Kurt Cobain. They're running some story and maybe even have a new documentary or something prepared, trying to reinvigorate conspiracy theories about Kurt Cobain's death and basically trying to perpetuate the idea that Courtney Love killed him. The idea that Courtney Love could pull off a murder plot and get away with it, for one thing, when she herself at that time was a mess. I don't think that she was really in the kind of, like, cognitive headspace to be able to get away with crimes like that. But then also, even if she got away with it at the time, you think that she wouldn't have spilled the beans at some point in the last, like, 20, 30 years. Courtney Love can't keep a fucking secret. What are we talking about? If she had killed Kurt, we'd all know about it by now. She'd have told us herself. It's just so stupid. And I don't even say, I'm mad at Courtney Love right now. So I'm not even saying it just to defend her good name. She went to fucking Marilyn Manson's birthday party recently. Thought that was disgusting. But she definitely didn't kill Kurt Cobain. I don't even know why we're revisiting this. I guess just because people are bored. But the thing is like, Kurt Cobain's death was a homicide, as shocking new private forensic findings question the suicide ruling. It's like, yeah, new private forensic findings. You just hired a guy. You just hired a guy. And then he said that. That's not actually, there's no, like, official investigative force that found, there's no official investigating force that's looking into Kurt Cobain's death at this point. It's a closed case. It's done. That's it. Moving on, we also do have a new Taylor Swift controversy. So it says, Taylor disputes betting company Swift Home trademark. The artist has asked the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office to reject Cathaway Homes mark. So the trademark was for Swift Home, and there's already, the Swifties are so militant with the community notes on Twitter. And they kind of have a point here, but it's also so dumb. The Rolling Stone article contains no image of either party's logo, which is critical in the situation, as Swift's team is arguing that the similar branding could lead to confusion around an endorsement. Yeah, it's not like Rolling Stone was trying to hide that. They said what the dispute was over. But yeah, Rolling Stone often does not utilize images in their articles, like, ever. So I have on one of my separate accounts, on my Stan account, I'm able to do the community notes. I'm not able to do it on my main account because one time I made a joke about using a time machine to go back and kill baby Elon Musk, and my fucking account got a strike on it, so now I can't write community notes on that account, but I can write them on my other account. But sometimes I'll go there and I'll look through community notes, because if you have one of the accounts that can do it, you don't just see the notes that actually show up that have been rated helpful. You only see the notes, or not only see the notes, you also see the notes of like proposed community notes, and then you're supposed to rate them and say if they're accurate or not. And I can't even tell you guys the amount that Swifties will fucking community note anything that's even vaguely similar, or I'm sorry, even vaguely critical of her. Community note immediately. It's so absurd. And this one I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of get it, but also stop. It's not that serious. You don't need to do a community note for this. If anyone's that curious about it, they can look up the trademark on their own. But so this is what the trademarks look like. And I don't know. I kind of understand, but I also, it does feel a little greedy to me. Cause like, okay, they look sort of similar, but it's just cause they're in like a cursive font. And then the name is Swift. I get it, but I also think that if I were Taylor, I maybe wouldn't even touch it, because to add to the like Taylor is greedy and litigious narrative seems like a bad idea at this point. I mean, you're already licensing your shit out to so many people. If she was like really, really protective about her brand at this point, I would understand more. But the fact is that I see like Taylor Swift themed kids books and Taylor Swift themed just like picture books that aren't even that good. She licenses her name and her celebrity out to so many different brands that it's like, you've already kind of diminished the meaning of your trademark in the first place. So I don't know. It feels like at some point you do have to kind of let stuff go. But those aren't official, though. Some of them are official. They're not like sold in her merch stores, but there are definitely things that was licensed by her team that is still being sold. They've gotten pretty loose in the last few years, at least. They used to be way stricter. But I don't know what happened. Now they're licensing their stuff out pretty freely, but it's like you have to go through them to get it licensed, and these people did not. But this isn't like officially tied to her brand. This is just like a home thing. I get it. I do. I'm not like super critical of her in this instance, because they do look similar. But I just think that like, if I were her, I'd be thinking about this stuff a little bit more of like where we're drawing the line. We gotta draw the line at like a bigger thing than this. But whatever. Good for you, Taylor. Protect those trademarks. And then we have Rosalia, who, okay, so I don't even know, maybe other people know more than me, because I don't know that much about Rosalia's romantic life. I know that she dated this guy, Rao Alejandro, but I don't know for sure. People are associating this story that she told with him. I don't know for sure that this is actually about him. Maybe it's about another boyfriend. I don't know, but this is what people are saying. She said, I had a boyfriend who was kind of Morse code, you know? An emotional Morse code. I remember we were together for a few years. I don't even know exactly how many, but we ended up breaking up. Then the typical thing happened, a relapse, 1 week after the breakup. We had that relapse, we started seeing each other again and got back together. At one point, out of nowhere, he drops this sentence. He turns to me and says, how much I missed my whore. When he said that, I completely froze. I was in shock, paralyzed, like a frozen strawberry ice cream, you know? I was stiff, with zero reaction, horrible, dead inside, lost. I couldn't even respond. I was so shocked. So that's how I reacted. In the moment, I wasn't expecting it, and I just stayed there without reacting. When I finally managed to react, I got up, left, and never came back. Obviously. Goodbye. That was very heavy for me. I was never able to forgive. I think nowadays maybe I'm starting to reach a point where I could forgive. Yeah, I don't think you need to forgive that one. That's very weird. Very, very weird. And I saw some people defending this and being like, I'd be okay with it if he called me a whore. It's like, well, she wasn't okay with it, for one thing. He definitely should have okayed his use of terms with her prior to calling her a whore. But then also, it is crazy too. It'd be one thing if you were in a relationship with someone and if you had a sense for their comfort level in the first place, and then you called them a whore playfully or whatever while you're like together and have been together for a while. But to say that to her right after you got back together, to say how I missed my whore. I don't know why you're that comfortable that quickly after we've already broken up. That's nuts. Is that his foot up in the air? I don't know. I think it is. Look at his little toesies. I don't know anything about this man. But yeah, I thought that was crazy. So good for her for getting rid of that guy. Now moving on to someone else who is currently in a relationship that she seems very happy in. Lana Del Rey. I don't know if this is true, but this is what I saw on Twitter. Apparently she's now signing autographs as Lana Dufrene. So I don't know if that's how you say the last name, but that's the last name of her husband. And look, if she wants to use her husband's name, that's one thing. But for me, I'm kind of like, okay, you go back to Lizzie to do that. Lana Dufrene? No, I think Lizzie Dufrene. Why? If you already have Lana Del Rey is a stage name. So if you got married, why does that change the stage name? It's Lizzie. Elizabeth. Okay, apparently a fan asked her to. That's interesting. That's very strange. No, we have not talked about Wuthering Heights yet. We're gonna do that at the end. But then she was with her husband at the Ralph Lauren show. And just seemed, I don't know. She's very, very cute. I'm still a little iffy about the husband, especially because of some of the stuff he's posted on social media. But it is just, she's bringing this man everywhere.
This is like a combo of like Western and romantic.
Yes. Well, I actually heard that was the exact inspiration for today's collection. So, I mean, I think it all is for all the collections, but it's my favorite. God bless my husband. I think I may have made, well, I'm a little double RL monster, so, and Ralph Lauren, so everything, all the time. But yeah, I think Western's kind of the way things are going, right? It seems.
Yeah, and it's like, Western is the way things are going. It's like, the way things are going is like right-wing fascism, sort of. And I think the Western aesthetic is maybe connected to that. Not to say that you can't do a Western aesthetic and be progressive. But I think that's kind of the reason that things are going that way, right? Because of the larger culture that we're in. But I also still just think it's very funny that, like, he's just there.
There's every music, fashion, little Victorian edge thrown in there.
How do you feel wearing it?
Oh, I'm so psyched right now. I love my jacket.
And to your left, guys. Straight ahead, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
I mean, good for them, I guess. She seems to really like him. Miss Dufrene. Now, unfortunately, because she's coming out, I don't know if it's coming out at midnight or if it's going to come out like midday tomorrow. I just knew that it came out on the 17th because it's my birthday, so I remembered that. But she's coming out with a new song at some point tomorrow, maybe at midnight. But it's called, oh, what is it called? White Feather Hawk-tailed Deer Hunter. This is the cover for it. I think the cover is cute. People were clowning on it. I guess she did just buy it off of someone who, like, paints and then put the title onto it, and I think that's fine. I don't have any problems with that. She's definitely had worse cover art before. But I was a little bit like, you know, Lana's been kind of pissing me off recently, and it's been a while since she's come out with a new album. She did come out with Tunnels Under Ocean Boulevard a few years ago, and I did love that album. But I was like, it's been a minute. I bet the album sucks, you know? I bet it's... she's just been making me so annoyed that she couldn't possibly release music that I'm that interested in. And I felt like maybe I'll finally be free of Lana, in a sense. I've always loved Lana, and I've always loved her music, but she's one of those artists that I've always had to have very complicated feelings about, and I was almost happy to just be free of that, in a sense. I was like, well, she'll probably release something, because I thought she's gonna do like a country album or whatever. The album was supposed to be called Stove, but I guess they've already changed that name. I saw a new name earlier today, but I don't know if that's true. Maybe it's still called Stove. But I was like, okay, she'll put out an album that I'm not that interested in, and I won't even have to have complicated feelings about it. I just won't like it. Unfortunately, she released a clip earlier today, and I was like, shit, I like it. Or she released it yesterday. I'll play a little bit of it, because I don't want to get claimed by it, but I think I'm gonna like it.
Hey, go.
Sounds very spooky. It sounds very Ethel Cain inspired, which is interesting. Very, very Ethel in some ways.
Oh dear Lord, I know you wish you had a man like him. It's such a bummer when I met him.
But I'm gonna like it. I just know it. Well, I guess thanks for that, Lana. I'm still gonna have to stan. And then Tyla and Zara are apparently doing something together. Don't know what yet. Making a song, I would assume. But we'll just keep an eye on that. Just wanted to put that out there. Keep an eye on a new Zara-Tyla collab. And then Lola Young has definitely been trying to kind of revitalize her album era, it seems, a little bit. She did take that time off after she, like, passed out on stage and seemed to be dealing with some stuff mentally, but then she first performed at the Best New Artist event that Spotify put on prior to the Grammys. Then she performed at the Grammys. She won a Grammy. So things are looking up for Miss Lola, and she has now released an alternative music video for her song Post-Sex Clarity. It's pretty simple. It's just her in this room like that, but it's good, and I do like this song a lot. It's not my favorite on the album, but I like it. It's pretty good. And then, in other new music news, Hemlock Springs has finally released her debut album. I'm so happy. I've loved Hemlock Springs for a few years, and I've been waiting for this album to come out. It's getting good reviews. I did see Paste gave it a not great review, and she retweeted their review, and I was like, did she read it? Or did she think that that was complimentary to her? Because it definitely wasn't, but maybe she was just retweeting everybody's reviews. I don't know. But I love Hemlock Springs. And she also did an interview with Chappell Roan upon release of this. Like, Chappell was interviewing her. It was very good. Kind of long. Not like super long, but it's substantive. There's a lot to look into. So, I do encourage everyone to do their homework on that one, because Hemlock Springs is very good, and it's a concept album. I have only listened to it all the way through once, so I'm not totally, I know there's kind of like a story there. I haven't fully grasped onto it, but I will. Give me a minute. I'll get there. And then speaking of Chappell Roan, she was one of the first celebrities who spoke out against, or who left the Wasserman Talent Agency over the owner Casey Wasserman having, I guess they said, flirtatious emails or texts or something with Ghislaine Maxwell. So quite a few other people have left since then. So John Summit posted something that said he plans to leave the agency unless Wasserman steps down. And then 24 other artists, Bonobo. There were a lot of people that left. And then there was one person, well, so Sleigh Bells said something about it. Oh, shit. And this I thought was pretty important because there, as much as I do applaud Chappell for leaving and anyone else who has left Wasserman, there was this big kind of like shaming campaign for everyone that stayed on with that talent agency, which I did think was kind of unfair because it's like not everyone is in the same position that Chappell is in or that these other people who have left are in. So this is what Alexis Krauss of Sleigh Bells said. She said, I've been spending a lot of time lately contemplating my responsibility as an individual and an artist in a system that can be exploitative, morally bankrupt, and at times criminal. Over the course of my 28-year career in the music industry, I've often questioned why I continue to be a part of it. When I was a teenager in a girl pop band, my body was digitally altered without my consent to make me look thinner. That was probably the first time I realized that my personal values were out of alignment with the priorities of the music industry. Today, despite being in a band that I'm deeply proud of, that has tried to treat people ethically, work with individuals and companies that share our values, and act with integrity, I find myself often beholden to corporations and systems that prioritize profit over ethics. Do I wish I could burn it all down, boycott, and divest? Sure I do. But to be totally honest, I can't afford to. My band can't afford to. Our ability to make a living in this industry is dependent on our engagement with these companies. This might not be the case for all artists, but for a mid-tier band like ours, I struggle to find a way around it. Would I love to take our music off Spotify? Yes, I would. Can we afford to lose the platform Spotify gives us? No, we can't. It would be devastating to us. Would I love to never support Live Nation or Ticketmaster again? Sure, I would. Is it possible for a band that can barely break even touring? No, I can't even fathom how we would do it. We just don't have that type of leverage. Yeah, and I see people saying that shit with Ticketmaster all the time, where people will be like, why don't all these artists just stop working with Ticketmaster? And it's like, well, because Ticketmaster and Live Nation own like 80% of the major venues across the United States. You just wouldn't be able to tour certain places if you weren't working with Ticketmaster. It's not really feasible for a lot of artists, for most artists, especially, honestly, some of the bigger ones, because they're the ones that have to do the bigger shows to include, like, as many people as possible. You can kind of get away with maybe not working with Ticketmaster if you're really small, if you're, like, local, you know? If you just do like really small tours and stuff. But for the most part, if you're even just a mid-sized band or artist, yeah, you gotta work with Ticketmaster. It fucking sucks. That's the whole thing about like them being a monopoly. That's the point. Would I love to just leave Wasserman Music? Yes, I would. Can we? No, because I love and respect our agent, and I trust him to make the decision that is best for himself, his family, and his artists. The agent at Wasserman are not the villains. Have my values aligned with every sync we've ever approved? No, they haven't. But does that income enable me to pay mine and my children's health insurance every month? You bet it does. Because let's remember, there's no such thing as healthcare for working musicians. Ken, call me spineless, but this is my truth. This is the hypocrisy of our realities, as we try to do the least harm in an unscrupulous system. Could I do more to hold these individuals and corporations accountable? Absolutely. Do I have the capacity to? No, I don't. In my opinion, it's not the responsibility of the artists, especially those struggling to make a living, to fix these broken systems. I'm not saying we're powerless, but without systemic change and accountability for those at the highest levels of power, no meaningful change is going to occur. I certainly wish more multi-million and billionaire artists would step up and try to hold these institutions accountable. At some point, you just don't need any more fucking money. People with real power need to speak up. I'm always grateful when an artist uses their platform to disrupt the status quo. You might say it's not enough, but it's something. None of these corporations are going to bat an eye if Sleigh Bells bails on them. It'll just leave us losing more money on tour and making less streaming income than we do now. It's a shitty place to be, but it's the truth. What we need is greater regulation and accountability at the highest levels of the industry. I don't want to be cynical, but honestly I am. I don't know what it's going to take for things to really change. At this point, I'm still in this business because I love my band, I love my bandmate, and I love the people who have given so much of themselves to our band. They are worth investing in, even if that means simultaneously supporting a depraved system. And yeah, it really, it's fucking sucks. You have to make so many moral compromises just to be a working musician. You know, and we can like focus on individual stuff like the Wasserman agency, but there's no talent agency in the industry that is completely clean. There's just agencies that we haven't publicized all the ways that they're dirty yet. So it is just pretty unreasonable and unsympathetic to ask every single artist working with this talent agency to leave just because of this like set of allegations. That being said, Wasserman has now sold, oh damn it, I'm not logged in here, but Casey Wasserman has now, or he's going to sell his agency. Now, is he still going to make money off it? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but for sure, the artist that did leave did make some amount of impact. They at least know that Casey cannot be the like center point of that company anymore. So that's good. And again, it's like when artists step down, it does make a difference. It's just not something that I think we should expect everybody to do. Moving on to Cardi B. She was at a concert recently. She started her tour and she had this to say.
Come on now, floor. Bitch, if ICE come in here, we're gonna jump their asses. Bitch, I got some bear mace in the back. They ain't taking my fans, bitch. Let's go.
So that was cute. And then, of course, Homeland Security had something to say about it. They said, as long as she doesn't drug and rob our agents, we'll consider that an improvement over her past behavior. Because if you don't know, Cardi did talk once about when she was a stripper, sometimes some of her like wealthier clients, her and some of the other women that worked there, would drug them and then rob them. And then people freaked out about it, and it's not a good thing to do. I'm not saying that you should do that. You shouldn't drug or rob anybody. Well, maybe you can rob some people, but you shouldn't drug anybody. It's not nice. It's not cute. Now, people were comparing it at the time. They're like, if a man did this, everyone would be up in arms. It's like, well, first of all, if a man did it, I don't know that they would just be robbing the women. I think they would be doing something else. And that's really what people were comparing it to. They were like, it's basically the same. She might as well have raped those men. And it's like, no, not the same. And they were also like rich men anyway, which I'm pro the redistribution of wealth. So I don't agree with drugging people because that is a violation of their bodily autonomy. But like if you're drugging them to steal their money, I'm okay with the stealing their money part, if we're being completely honest. She just kind of took a different route to do it than I would really endorse. But ultimately, do I think it was that big of a deal? Not really. She didn't kill anybody. She didn't rape anybody. So, it's a dog-eat-dog world. And then she responded to that and said, if we talking about drugs, let's talk about Epstein and friends drugging underage girls to rape them. Exactly. why y'all don't want to talk about the Epstein files. And that kind of just shut them up. They didn't say anything else after that. Though she had a little moment on stage recently where she fell. She's so cute. And then she also, quote, tweeted the video and said, "Can someone put a community note on this? This video is clearly AI." She's funny. I'm glad she's out there touring, because that means that I get more Cardi clips. And she really she handled it well. I mean, she kept performing. She said, "Oops." That's a professional. A professional. Speaking of tours, Hilary Duff has now announced her actual tour. So she was just doing what was it called? Small Shows, Big Nerves thing, which is like a kind of mini tour with just a few dates across the country, and then she did a few international dates, and now she's got some in Vegas. I think right now she's in Vegas, and then she'll come back to Vegas in May as well. But now she's announced her actual tour starting in June, and there's a lot of dates on here. Like, she really she stepped it up real fast, though I do think these are still smaller venues, so hard to say how easy it's going to be to get these tickets. The other tickets were very hard to get. They sold out real fast. But these they're bigger venues and there are more of them, but they are still fairly small. Though she is doing Madison Square Garden, so it'll be interesting to see if she can sell out Madison Square Garden. I think she maybe can. Maybe not like the first day. Yeah, exactly. Grand Rapids, but no Detroit. I know. Well, so, I mean, she's doing Grand Rapids and she's doing Clarkston, which Clarkston is like Metro Detroit. I don't know what venue is in Clarkston that she's going to. Maybe, is Royal Oak in Clarkston? But no, that would still say Royal Oak, wouldn't it? Let me see where she's at. Because, yeah, she's not in Detroit proper, but Clarkston, I think, is... Right? Am I thinking Clarkston, Michigan? Is that Metro Detroit? Yeah, it's in Oakland. So I would have thought that she would be in, like, Royal Oak, if anything. Well, let's see. Hilary Duff... Oh, so she's at Pine Knob, which is kind of Detroit. I've never been there, though. So definitely a smaller venue. Yep, yeah, it is Pine Knob. But anyway, I bigger tour than she had previously had scheduled, and it goes all the way up to February of next year. Lot of shows for a working mother. But she looks great. Every clip I've seen from the shows looks incredible. I don't know. I'm assuming the tour will have a different set list than the one she's currently doing in, like, Vegas. But she sounds so good. I thought she was lip syncing for a while. Because it sounds just really good. But then the more and more clips I watched, I was like, no, she's definitely, like, when she moves the mic away, I stop hearing her voice. And it's also, like, it's definitely a different audio track in the different cities. Like, there are some slight differences. So she must be singing live. But I was very surprised by that, because she hasn't toured in so long. that I thought there's no way she sounds that good right off the bat. But I guess so. And it has been very kind of like sentimental for me to hear these new versions, because some of the songs, it's like I haven't heard her sing those songs since she was like 19. And now she's in her mid-30s, how old is she? She's got to be at least. She's 38. So it's like hearing kind of like a teenager's vocals versus an adult's. You can definitely tell the difference. It is quite, I don't know. To call it nostalgic isn't quite right, because it's like it's not nostalgic. It's like, wow, she's grown. She's an adult now. Like, I can like fully contextualize her early work as like that of a teenager. Yeah, I do think she's using some sort of pitch correction for sure. There's definitely some sort of filter on the mic, and there are definitely backing vocals too. But she's still just like the breath control and everything was way more developed than I was expecting from her. Though I guess she was very athletic. Like, even when she wasn't pursuing music, she was always like working out and stuff. So she's probably got good breath control just from like doing a lot of cardio. Because it is like, it's a form of athleticism. Anyway, we got a little segment for the boys right now. A little back-to-back boy action. So we're gonna start with Zayn, because he did an interview with Call Her Daddy that was interesting. I kind of can't stand this podcast, to be honest with you, and it's nothing... Well, no, I was gonna say it's nothing personal against Alex, but it maybe is a little personal just in the way that she doesn't do follow-up questions, and she's literally just there to, like, do PR for people in a way that's very annoying. And that's a choice that she made. So yeah, I guess it is personal. Fuck you for the way that you conduct your interviews. But here's her talking to Zayn on her podcast.
To be able to provide so much for your daughter without that level of stress.
I'm so glad you asked me that question. It's everything. Even to the...
So she's asking him about, like, him growing up not having a lot of money, and then how that's changed the dynamic of his relationship with his daughter, because he now has money and so he wants to like spoil her. That's the question that she's asking.
Degree that, like, you know, I'm raising her in an environment that, you know, isn't the same as everybody's. You know, her dad is a pop star, her mom is a model, and certain things that she does in life might not, you know, always reflect what other people's understanding of reality is, you know? So I think I gave her a bit too much money from the Tooth Fairy.
How much are we talking?
500 quid.
Yeah. Zayn?
It's her first tooth.
Hold on.
And her mom gave me shit about.
So he said 500 quid, which I believe converts to like $700 US. So he gave his daughter about $700 for her first loose tooth from the Tooth Fairy.
What other people's understanding of reality is, you know? So I think I gave her a bit too much money from the Tooth Fairy.
How much are we talking?
500 quid. Yeah.
Zayn?
It's her first tooth.
Hold on.
And her mom gave me shit about it, and I was like, at the end of the day, like, I worked my ass off, and like, I should be able to give my kid what I want to give her, you know?
Hold on. I may have to agree with...
Listen, I understand what he's saying here. I don't like the fact that he brought up that Gigi didn't like it. I don't know. That seems a little weird to me of like, hey, let's not do our co-parenting disputes on a podcast. Maybe we don't mention the fights that we've gotten into with our former partners while we're still co-parenting the same child together. That felt a little weird to me.
Her mom on this. Hold on.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
$500 for one tooth?
Yeah. It's her first tooth, though.
But then what's going to happen with the second one?
She gets 5.
No.
Yeah, that's it. the first tooth, I'm going to keep that one and frame it.
She's gonna be like, Dad, what is this shit? It's like a $1 bill. You're like...
Yeah, that's it. Tooth Fairy's gone broke now. Should I not giving you anything else?
Oh my God, $500 is so crazy. But also, every person is so jealous right now, being like, wow.
She's my first kid.
I know.
Give me a break. Somebody, please.
Okay, I do give you a break.
Not you. I'm just saying
I know.
people in general, like, obviously look at it a certain type of way, but look, at the end of the day, I was lucky if I got anything from my teeth, you know? And I've worked really hard for everything I've earned, so I don't feel like I should have to answer for them things, you know?
I think it's a great point.
And that's where I'm like, again, I get what you're saying and I get why you want it, but when you already brought up the fact that you fought with Gigi over this, when you're saying, I don't think that I should have to, what did he say, answer for those things? It's like, well, but you did have a partner that you were supposed to be co-parenting with, so like, you guys do have to collaborate a little bit, you know? I mean, don't... For one thing, keep your disputes like that a little bit more private, maybe. But also, to say that you shouldn't have to... What did he... let me get his exact wording.
Every person is so jealous right now, being like, wow.
She's my first kid.
I know.
Give me a break. Somebody, please.
Okay, I do give you a break.
Not you. I'm just saying
I know.
people in general, like, obviously look at it a certain type of way, but look, at the end of the day, I was lucky if I got anything from my teeth, you know? And I've worked really hard for everything I've earned, so I don't feel like I should have to answer for them things, you know?
Yeah, that he shouldn't have to answer for it. It's like, well, no, you should be collaborating with your partner over how to raise your child. And Gigi also, I get what he's saying, that he never had that stuff, so he wants to make sure that, you know, he wants the opportunity to spoil his daughter, but it's like, well, Gigi grew up having it, you know, she is a Nepo baby, she grew up in a wealthy family, and maybe she also has the perspective of, she knows what it's like when you give your kid a whole bunch of shit without, you know, them really earning it, or you spoil them with money. Maybe she has a perspective that is also valuable. That she doesn't want her kid to turn out to be some rich, spoiled brat. And you're kind of enabling that, you know? I think Gigi also maybe had a point, and maybe she shouldn't have to answer for what you're trying to do. But if the two of you are going to have that dispute, maybe just keep it between the two of you. Don't bring the rest of the world into it. That felt a little weird to me. And then there was something else he said during the podcast that was also a little weird.
You said in an interview that you don't know if you've ever truly been in love. Do you still stand by that?
Yeah. Yeah. Because, like, my understanding of love is always developing, you know? At that moment in time, I might have thought it was love, but as I've got older, I realized maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was lust. Maybe it was this. Maybe it was that. I don't feel like it was love. And to be fair, like, just to say this on record, I will always love G, because she is the reason my child isn't, you know, on this earth. And I have the utmost respect for her. I will always love her, but I don't know if I was ever in love with her. Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine there's so much pressure.
No. Fuck you. They were together for like 6 years. Didn't he like get a tattoo of her name at some point? What the fuck? And also to say that you'll always have love for her and you'll always respect her because she gave you a child. Oh my God, it's like literally you thought of her as like transactional. You thought of her as just like the thing, like this thing that birthed something else that you actually love and respect a whole lot more. That's so gross, to reduce your partner of 6 years to just the person that birthed your child. No, girl. No. And I've never been super into Zayn. Not like I disliked him. He just wasn't, I didn't follow his career. I didn't really follow much. I didn't follow the One Direction shit in general. I started to follow Harry Styles a little bit after he left One Direction because I did like his, especially his second album. But Zayn I never really got into, so I can't speak on it. I know that he has like pretty decent politics. And overall, all the One Direction guys, except for the one that died. What was his name? Was that Louis or Liam? I honestly don't even remember. I think it was Liam. He could be pretty gross, but for the most part, the One Direction guys they all seem like decent people. So I don't have like anything big against Zayn, but I did think this was kind of gross. And I also have just thought that Zayn's fans are kind of weird for a while, because there was some sort of allegation against Zayn involving Gigi Hadid's mom, and I don't really have a whole lot of love for Gigi Hadid's mom, so I can't say in that instance. I have no idea what happened between the two of them. But I really didn't like the way that his fans were defending him by just being like, he's always been so respectful toward women, so he would never do that. It's like, well, that doesn't mean anything. Lots of men act respectfully to women and also are abusive. So I don't know. I didn't love the mentality that came from his fan base, and that just kind of turned me off from the Zayn community as a whole. Can't say anything about him specifically, but I do think his fans are a little defensive of him in a way that I've seen people be defensive of men before, and it didn't turn out well. Now, Harry Styles pissed some people off this week too. Though his wasn't as bad, but still is a little annoying. So he talked about his love for Italy in the Sunday Times. He said, Italy became so important to me because I was so used to everything moving so quickly and being on the go, but then I remember going to a cafe and sitting and having a coffee and thinking, I don't remember the last time I sat down and had a coffee. If I've ever sat down and just had a coffee, I realized the pleasure in just being in the moment of what you're doing. The Romans are the best at that. That's their specialty. The pace they've taught me has been so special. And I saw some people, especially people who live in Italy, pushing back on this and being like, no, you're just rich. People in Italy actually do, like, they have jobs, they work for a living. You're just rich. So you have, like, the tourist experience of Italy. But that doesn't mean that Italy as a country is, like, that fucking chill. And, you know, I think that there's definitely a point to that. I think that there is some rich person bullshit happening here. But also, I guess, like, he's probably been a rich asshole in other countries and other places. So maybe the tourist culture in Italy is genuinely a little bit slower or something. I don't know. But it was annoying. I think that if I were someone who was like a working class Italian, I would be like, all right, fuck you. But it's not that serious. Then Shawn Mendes as well. He had a little moment with someone named Bruna Marquezine. I don't know how to pronounce her name, but there's this little flirtatious moment. I guess that's his new girlfriend on a boat or something. But then, of course, people are reading into it because she does, like, lean in for a kiss or something, and he doesn't kiss her. And then that's adding to the whole narrative about Shawn maybe being not heterosexual. I don't know. He's made some comments before indicating that he is exploring his sexuality, but I also think that that doesn't mean that he's not into women, though that is very weird because it does feel like they should have kissed right there, and I don't know why they didn't. But ultimately, none of our business. And Shawn is very cute, so let's just focus on that. He's a little cutie. But that's the discourse that's currently happening around him. And he seems like a nice young man. And then Bruno Mars had something for Valentine's Day recently, on Valentine's Day, where I guess he partnered with a bunch of local flower shops, and you could get like a bouquet that was in the theme of his new album, The Romantic, which is very, very cute. Love that, and love to see a man promoting his shit, you know? Because sometimes they don't fucking do anything until their album comes out. But we love that, getting the word out, and encouraging people to give their partner a nice Valentine's Day gift. That being said, couldn't stop my guy Bad Bunny from being the most streamed artist on Valentine's Day. Didn't even have to try, didn't even have to do anything. Look at him go. He does have a tradition of releasing new songs on Valentine's Day, which he did not do this year, but I wonder if maybe that's why he was the most streamed, as people were like, oh, he's gonna drop a new song any second now. I'm gonna get into my Bad Bunny mode. But then he didn't. But still, #1 on Valentine's Day, and good for him. Now, speaking of Bad Bunny and romance, sex, etc., there were some indications that he might be getting together with one of his ex-girlfriends. I don't remember her name, but whatever ex-girlfriend that he keeps getting back together with. He was seen with her after the Super Bowl. But there was something during one of the shows, and I'm going to say the first image you're going to see is maybe a little troubling. Like, I was a little bit, when I first scrolled and saw this on my timeline, I was like, what the fuck? What's that lady doing in Bad Bunny? But he does seem to like it. So we should go into it with that. He seemed to be kind of into this. So this was consensual, I suppose. But this woman... Pop Crave says Bad Bunny has a heartfelt moment with fan at his show in Buenos Aires. And she is kind of like choking him a little, not like fully choking him, but she does put her hands around his neck. But he seems into it because he gets closer to her and then he takes off his glasses too. He liked it. He wanted to look her in the eye and sing directly to her. So listen, that does not mean that you should go around choking Bad Bunny. Don't touch his neck. This girl was very ballsy. I do not encourage you to do this, but it does seem like he liked it. So good for him. Oh, he is cute though. Republicans are still freaking the fuck out about his Super Bowl performance though. Oh, what the hell is this? Oh, god damn it. Yeah, I'm not a robot. Stairs? Would those count? Would that count? Fuck, I hate these. I'm like, what counts as the stair? Because there maybe is a little bit. I think that's fine. Motorcycles? God damn it. And this is the thing too, is like, I know I'm just basically training an AI system. That's what they use those for. Is to train AI. Especially self-driving cars, which I do not think we should not have self-driving cars on the road. I'm not for it. I'm against it. Anyway. Republicans have moved into a new, even dumber phase of Bad Bunny outrage. So they are trying to get him investigated for a whole bunch of shit. It's so stupid. So, let's see. Plenty of right-wingers were outraged that the NFL tapped the Puerto Rican star for the show and criticized the Spanish language performance in real time. The GOP isn't letting it go and has since called for multiple investigations into those responsible while making a hilarious show of translating and dissecting Bad Bunny lyrics in public. Started on Monday, Representative Andy Ogles wrote a letter to the House Committee on Energy Commissions calling for a formal inquiry into the NFL and NBC Universal over their prior knowledge review and approval of indecent content from Apple Music's halftime show. First of all, don't you have better things to do? Aren't there other things that you could be doing with your time as a representative for our country, for Tennessee, that would actually, like, help people? That's not this dumb bullshit. I hate every member of Congress. Not every, well, most of them. Like, they just waste so much goddamn time. Do something that's actually gonna help people instead of just being a fucking prude all the goddamn time. But it says the Apple Music Super Bowl, what would that be? What's L? Is that 20? No, it couldn't be. Whatever, I don't know. Halftime show was pure smut. I wish it was. I'd love to watch some smut with Bad Bunny. He was fully clothed the whole time. Everyone was fully clothed. I just can't even imagine. Oh, 60, okay. I can't even imagine being so sexually repressed to think that The halftime show was smut. Brazenly aired on national television for every American family to witness. Children were forced to endure explicit displays of gay sexual acts. There was like 2 seconds where 2 men were dancing on each other. Children were forced to endure explicit displays of gay sexual acts. Oh my God. They are such babies. Women gyrating provocatively. And Bad Bunny shamelessly grabbing his crotch while dry humping the air. They've receded to like Elvis levels of hysteria, where they're like, oh my God, he was gyrating, he was moving his hips. We can only film him from the waist up from now on. The performance's lyrics openly glorified sodomy and countless other unspeakable depravities. Now, I don't speak Spanish, so maybe they did, but I don't know anything really about him singing about sodomy. Maybe it happened. I'm not sure. I'd love it if he did. But that's the thing, too, is that they were so upset that the halftime show was going to be in Spanish, because they were like, well, the American public doesn't even speak Spanish, most of them. It's like, okay, so then no one noticed. So no one noticed the lyrics about sodomy. Because I don't hear these complaints coming from anyone that speaks Spanish. No one that I know that speaks Spanish thought that the halftime show was that gratuitous. It's only people that speak English. And they had to look the lyrics up in the first place anyway. Oggles claimed in a post on X that the show depicted gay pornography. No, it didn't. You really can't handle 2 guys dancing on each other for 2 seconds. I can't even... How do they walk around in the world? Maybe they don't. Maybe they're just so rich and so privileged and powerful that they never even have to go outside to do anything. They just get into their cars and are driven to the safe places where they know that there'll be no 2 men dancing on each other whatsoever. Conclusive proof that Puerto Rico should never be a state. Ew! What the fuck? You're using your own homophobia to justify Puerto Rico not being a state? That is so ridiculous. That is so disgusting. Because, number one, there's gay people in America, in the United States, which Puerto Rico is a part of the United States, but like in the actual states, in all 50 states, there are gay people, there are men gyrating on each other. That is a normal part of being a nation, is that there are people in the nation who will do things to other people in the nation. And that is not what qualifies what should or shouldn't be a state. There's gay people across the whole United States, baby. And it's fine. It's fine. It's nice, even. But then also conclusive proof that Puerto Rico should never be a state. Yeah. Did you not listen to the album? I'm a little confused as to how you looked up these lyrics apparently and found stuff about sodomy, and you didn't notice the fact that Ricky Martin, the song that he was singing on the Super Bowl, was about how Puerto Rico shouldn't be a state. That's what Bad Bunny wrote about on the album, is that Puerto Rico should get to be an independent nation, which you probably don't even agree with that, you know? Because that's not the argument that he's making. It's not like, oh, Puerto Rico shouldn't be a state. It should be its own independent country. No, they still think that Puerto Rico should be a territory of the United States. They still think that we should own that land, that we should be able to make it a tax write-off to live there for rich fucks who just show up as like tourists and then buy residences like the Paul brothers. They still think that English-speaking white Americans should be able to use Puerto Rico at their own free will, but they shouldn't actually have, like, states' rights. They shouldn't be able to vote in the presidential election. It's literally like taxation without representation. It's the entire thing that our country was supposedly so pissed off about when it happened to us, that we had to make our own new country, but we won't let Puerto Rico have its own nation, and we also won't let them be a state either. But like, what the hell are you talking about? Conclusive proof that Puerto Rico should never be a state? Did you listen to the fucking lyrics? Ridiculous. And then Representative Randy Fine, meanwhile, has called for the Federal Communication Commission to investigate. Just wasting so much time. Fine claimed on X that the disgusting halftime show was illegal and that Bad Bunny said these lyrics and all the other disgusting and pornographic filth that had Bad Bunny said these lyrics and all the other disgusting and pornographic filth in English on live TV, the broadcast would have been pulled down and the fines would have been enormous. And you know, maybe that is true to some extent. Maybe the FCC is not as restrictive of the things that you say in other languages, but that's just because our nation doesn't give a fuck about other languages. So like, this is a representation of our own, like, I don't even know what you would call it, like English centricism, the fact that we only care about things that are in English in the first place. So yeah, this is a product of our own doing, of our own racist culture. But then who cares? I don't care if someone says fuck at the Super Bowl. I don't. There's just bigger things to worry about. Puerto Ricans are Americans and we all live by the same rules, Fine wrote. Not really. I mean, yeah, Puerto Ricans are Americans, but we don't all live by the same rules. You won't even let them vote for the president. Adding that he would be sending the FCC a letter demanding dramatic action, including fines and broadcast license reviews against the NFL, NBC, and Bad Bunny. Just a nation of Karens. Not even a nation of Karens. It's like the people that run the country. Because most of the American public, I don't think, gave a fuck about this. Representative Mark Alford chimed in on the Real America's Voice on Tuesday, claiming that while he doesn't speak fluent Spanish, the lyrics from what we've seen from Bad Bunny are very disturbing. God, they're so fucking whiny. We have a lot of questions for the entities that broadcast this, and we'll be talking with Brendan Carr from the FCC. This could be much worse than the Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction. God, you guys can't even... They're so traumatized by that, too. They're like, there was that one time that we saw a nipple, and we've never gotten over it. Conservatives running to the FCC to complain about the moral turpitude of Super Bowl halftime show performances is practically an annual tradition. Yeah, it is. They do this every fucking year. Every year. But especially when it's like, when it's Kendrick Lamar, when it's Rihanna, when it's a person of color doing the Super Bowl halftime show, they can't stand it. But then I also think, and a lot of these representatives, I don't know if they ever said anything about the Turning Point USA thing, but the whole alternative that the Trump administration was encouraging people to watch instead of the halftime show, Janet Jackson's nipple was exposed. It was, she had like a nipple piercing, but her nipple was on the stage, or on the screen for like a brief second. But it also, like, who cares? It's a nipple. We all have them. Yes, Anglo-centric. That was the word I was looking for. Thank you. It was on screen for like a second, and they've never gotten over it. But anyway, so the alternative programming that the administration was promoting people to watch instead of the actual halftime show starred Kid Rock, who did not censor his lyrics at all. At all. And this is one of the songs that he sang. It's Ba Wata Ba, which is a song from 1999. And I do think that's very funny that, like, this, he hasn't really been culturally relevant in a very long time. So, of course, the only song that he could perform that people actually knew was a song from 1999. And it is a song, unfortunately, that I know very well. Because listen, I'm from Michigan. I grew up in, like, a very small rural town. Kid Rock was very big in the area. I know a lot of Kid Rock songs. I know this song very well. I've danced to this song at weddings. That's how big it is in the area that I live in, or that I did live in. It's not as big over here, because now I'm in a city. And also because Kid Rock, even the people that, like, my parents were big fans of Kid Rock when I was younger, they don't listen to him anymore because he's out of his goddamn mind. But these are the lyrics to Ba Wata Ba. So first of all, if we're complaining about the fact that no one can understand what Bad Bunny is saying, here are the opening lyrics to Ba Wata Ba. Ba Wata Ba, da bang, diggy, 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 said the boogie, said up, jump the boogie. I think it's up, jump the boogie, not drop, but maybe I'm wrong. Ba Wata Ba, da bang, diggy, 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 said the, oh, I guess maybe it says up, drop the boogie, and then up, jump the boogie. It's nonsense. I don't think it means anything. Maybe it does. What does Genius say? Well, the lyrics are from the Busy Bee rap. The sound is uncannily like the beginning of the join. Yeah, this is just nonsense. It's just sounds. So ba wata ba da bang diggy 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 said the boogie, said up jump the boogie, and then he goes, my name is Kid Rock. And then first verse. And this is for the questions that don't have answers. The midnight glancers and the topless dancers. The gander freaks, cars parked with speakers. The G's with the 40s and the chicks with beepers. The northern lights and the southern comfort. And it don't even matter if their veins are punctured. All the crackheads, the critics, the cynics. And all my heroes in the methadone clinics. All you bastards at the IRS for the crooked cops and the cluttered desks. Yeah, that was the thing too, is that Kid Rock actually used to be way more like anti-cop in a way. A lot of people were, you know, cops were like, they were the pigs. They're there to stop you from having a good time. But then once the Black Lives Matter movement really started to become the focus of any sort of anti-cop sentiment, then all the like rural folk who initially would have called the cops the pigs, now suddenly they have so much respect for the police now that they see them as an enemy toward black people specifically. It's pretty crazy. But he used to call cops pigs all the time in his music. Now he loves them. But for the crooked cops and the cluttered desks, for the shots of Jack and the caps of meth, half pints of love and the fifths of stress, for the hookers all tricking out in Hollywood, and for my hoods of the world misunderstood, I said, it's all good and it's all in fun. Now get in the pit and try to love someone. And then for the time bombs ticking and the heads that hang, all the gangs getting money and the heads they bang bang, wild Mustangs, the porno flicks, all my homies in the county in cell block 6, the grits when there ain't enough eggs to cook, and for the DB Cooper and the money he took. You can look for answers, but that ain't fun. Now get in the pit and try to love someone. So yeah, I don't know how Bad Bunny's lyrics were so inappropriate, but those are fine. And the concert itself fucking sucked too. I'm gonna play a little bit. I'm gonna try not to get copyright claimed, but we'll see what happens. But you have to see this.
My name is Kid.
Let me go forward a little bit. Watch him singing live. What? He's not even trying. My God, and this is, I do think it's important for us to see this too, because sometimes things feel really dark and hopeless. But let's remember that conservative media is awful. It sucks. And so it's not gonna be easy, but at some point we will win. Because just straight up, no one wants to live in a country where this is the entertainment. The left will win eventually just because our media is so much fucking better. The American people, we love entertainment, and we're not gonna watch this all goddamn day. We're just not. And then they had their little country song. This was the biggest part of the show, by the way. It's just Kid Rock. They teased it like they were gonna have someone bigger, but then they didn't. And they had a bunch of nameless freaks, including this guy who sings this song, and I did see some people quoting it in the chat. It is pretty good. If it'll load. Here, I guess we can just watch it on their stream. Is this him or is this someone else? Is this lady? Oh, it's this guy. I'm gonna mute it till he starts singing.
I just wanna catch my fish, drive my truck, drink my beer, and not wake up to all this stuff I don't wanna hear.
He said, I just wanna, he said, catch my fish, drink my beer, drive my truck. It sounds like he's saying kiss my fish. But then it also is just this like, it is literally the Bo Burnham bit of like rural noun, simple adjective. It's such a parody in and of itself. And then he says, not wake up to the shit I don't want to hear. It's like, well, yeah, that's all that conservative politics really boils down to, isn't it? It's just like, oh, I don't want to hear about things that I don't like. Oh, I don't like it. Stop. They're so whiny.
Like the same kind of gun I hunt with, just killed another man.
And at that lyric, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Because, yeah, I don't want to wake up and hear that the gun that you hunt with killed another man. That's why I think that we need more regulations on guns, but I don't even think that's how he means it. I think he literally means about like, stop, don't bring that up. I hunt with it. Don't talk about all the people that it's killed. Stop.
Only thing mine ever shot was a deer from my deer stand.
Deer from my deer stand. That was what I was worried that the Lana Del Rey song was gonna sound like when she called it, like, what is it called? It's like white deer hunting something. I don't remember. But I was like, if it's a song like this, I'm out. But oh, he's talking about Charlie Kirk. That's very funny. I mean, that those guns have killed a whole lot more people than just Charlie Kirk. But even then, yeah, I think that the fact that it killed Charlie Kirk was bad, because I think that we shouldn't have guns that are so accessible to fucking kill people with. It's crazy.
Just wanna cut my grass, feed my dogs, wear my boots.
Then do it. Cut your grass, feed your dog, wear your boots. Who is stopping you from doing that? Literally no one. Absolutely fucking no one.
Not turn the TV on, sit and watch the evening news. Be told if I tell my own daughter that little boys ain't little girls.
And they all clap. They're like, yay! Transphobia, finally! And it's like, I don't know what else you people want. You have everything. You have to act like they're oppressed because they saw in the evening news that trans people exist or something. They're like, oh my God, no, I have to talk to my daughter. No. It's like, you're not oppressed in any way. This whole thing, this whole event where you're singing this song was endorsed by the President of the United States. You couldn't be more privileged, and yet it's still not enough for you. They are so fucking whiny. Just absolute babies. And then they walk around acting like the people who just want basic fucking rights and respect and dignity, that they're the whiny ones. Like, stop. Don't ask for rights. That makes me feel bad. I'm gonna go sing a song about it on a platform endorsed by the President of the United States because I feel so bad about it, and you're oppressing me by existing. Could never be a more whiny group of people, and thank God that they're not good. Like, they're not good musicians. They're not writing good music. They can't win on that basis alone. They'll get far, but ultimately they can't win because we as a nation cannot. What are we gonna do? We're gonna listen to stuff like that all day? No. There's just no way. And unfortunately, they're so awful that they make me agree with Candace Owens. She, to be clear, is fucking terrible. Let's not mince any words with that. Candace Owens, grifter, bad person. I do also think, in addition to being a grifter, I think that grifting is in her blood. I think that she can never totally stop. But I also do think that she has genuinely lost her mind. Like, very sincerely lost her mind with a lot of the Charlie Kirk stuff. I do think that she is kind of crazy in mourning over the loss of Charlie. And it is very interesting to me. I can't really look away from it. But that has kind of caused her to turn on both Turning Point USA and also the President of the United States, which is somewhat, I mean, I just didn't think this is where we're going to be. If you had asked me like 6 months ago what Candace Owens, what kind of propaganda she was going to be pushing, I didn't think it was this. But here's her commentary on the Turning Point USA thing. She's claiming to have some sort of like insider knowledge, which I don't know. She might not. She might be making it all up. She might be running with unconfirmed rumors. Who's to say? But what she has to say is fairly interesting.
Well, here's the reality of how this happens.
Sorry.
First and foremost, this was filmed, which we have already told you, and they've said 2 weeks ago, or weeks leading up to it, in Fayetteville, Georgia. There were actually only 180 people in the audience, and they used camera tricks to make it look like it was really filled. They were just moved around the room to make it look more full, and they had to do about 3 to 5 takes each on every song, except for Gabby. They said she got it done in 2.
And that is something that I think Kid Rock tried to use, because it wasn't live, apparently. That much is obvious. It was not a live taping, which they had made it seem like it was going to be live. But it wasn't live, and so that was what Kid Rock kind of tried to say to get around the lip-syncing allegations, was that they were... The music wasn't totally in sync with the videos, that they were maybe just using... like clips, you used footage from each different part of the performance to put the whole thing together. So maybe some of the times the audio was coming from a different clip than the visuals. I don't know. But even then I'm like, well, you still were barely seeing the amount of times that the mic was away from your fucking face. You definitely were lip syncing even in the room. It's not just an editing problem.
Had no idea what they were signing up for. The majority of the people didn't even agree once they got there and were told with doing a split halftime show. A lot of them actually liked Bad Bunny. Is it Bad Bunny? Sorry. Yeah, Bad Bunny. I thought I said something else. It was over 2 days of filming.
What did she think she said? Does she have a nickname for Bad Bunny that is derogatory? She probably does, but it's funny that even in this instance, she's like, yeah, of course people wanted to watch Bad Bunny.
Monday and a Tuesday, and they were kind of shocked that Erica was not present at all for that filming. They did not meet her. They felt like it was very weird, and they also thought that it was going to be a bigger artist because they were told that they were going to contend with the halftime show, and they didn't think that they were going to do that. Like I said, they're kind of, a lot of them were fans of Bad Bunny, and they were certain it was not going to rival that performance. Like I said, songs being played, performances 3 to 5 times so that they could further direct audiences, which they did, to fist pump and get excited. They told me they were very tired because these were 12-hour days. They were compensated $250 stipend for that. They ran out of food. On the first day, the food that was provided for them was Mediterranean food, which is just objectively hilarious for an all-American halftime show.
Well, it's like American food is already so built upon a whole bunch of different foods that have been appropriated from different cultures anyway. If you, there's really not much of a such thing as like an all-American meal. But it is definitely still funny that, like, just explicitly Mediterranean food, and then also Mexican, as she's about to say here. But, like, yeah, what you want to have an American food-themed dining experience? What are you going to eat? Chicken tenders? Boring.
And the second day they gave them tacos. So I think Mexico won. There was a holding room in between the takes, and they felt that there was no communication of why they were waiting for hours sometimes. There were technical problems. They also had the performers themselves were late, and they were not told why. They were just kind of in this holding space. And, except for Gabby Barrett, they said that she was early and she only needed to do her song twice. So she was the strong exception. They waited the longest for Kid Rock. I don't think that's that surprising. And that the person who was producing this, some guy named Matt, was trying to get them hyped by saying, there's a little birdie that told us that Trump is going to be watching our halftime show. Like, you know, you got to like keep the slaves from revolting energy. It's going to be great. It's going to be amazing. And obviously, he also said to them that this is going to get more views than the Bad Bunny halftime show. And it's just objectively hilarious when you consider that Trump didn't even watch it. Because remember, this actually broke. It's this picture of Trump, and the Bad Bunny halftime show is in the background. He's at Mar-a-Lago. So I don't know who the little birdie was.
Yeah. Obviously, though, the idea that the Turning Point USA thing could ever actually rival the halftime show is crazy. First of all, because it's the halftime show. It airs on network TV, and everyone was already watching the game. It's one of the biggest, most watched events in the country every year. But then also, yeah, way more people would want to watch Bad Bunny than would want to watch Kid Rock. It's not like the NFL was taking like a hard stance of like, we're pro Bad Bunny versus any other artist. No, they picked the artist that had the biggest audience. They picked the thing that would be the most profitable for them, which was Bad Bunny, who is the biggest artist, biggest streaming artist in the fucking world. Period. Obviously, Kid Rock was not going to go up against that. And we'll again notice that Kid Rock, even at the Turning Point USA thing, had to sing a song from 1999. Don't know why you think that would have been more compelling to anyone. It's like they live in another reality. If the fact that they could even successfully convince some people that that was gonna be what happened, that the Turning Point USA stream was gonna be a proper rival to the Super Bowl. They're in another world. Moving on, our final little preamble.
Well, here's the reality of how...
Shut up, Candace. Before we get to Wuthering Heights, let's talk about some movies. So, the Berlinale Film Festival was... It's maybe still going on. I don't know how long it goes, but it started the other day, and there's been a lot of commentary about the lack of political commentary at this festival. So it started with this guy, Wim Wenders, he was, I think, the head of, the jury president at the film festival. And then this guy, I believe it was him, Tylo Young, who asked him this question about this stance that Germany has taken in regards to Israel and Palestine.
I also have a political question. I was hoping to get a quick answer from everyone because since Eva said, change the world, this festival does not happen in a vacuum. The Berlinale as an institution has famously shown solidarity with the people in Iran and Ukraine, but never with Palestine, even today. So my question is, in light of the German government support of the genocide in Gaza and its role as the main funder of the Berlinale, do you, as a member of the jury, support this selective treatment of human rights?
I think
Does the jury want to answer? I mean, I think we also want to talk about films in the festival, but
Well, films are political, as you just said.
exactly.
So
No, this is, the films are not political in the meaning of the word. I think you think of the meaning of the word. The films are, as Wim said, it's about empathy. It's about trying to understand. It's about having, making your own mind. And I think this is really like asking us this question is a little bit unfair. Because, we are trying to, we use the word change the world, but of course we are trying to talk to people, every single of the viewer, and to make them think. But we cannot be responsible for what their decision would be. Would be the decision to, to support Israel, or would be the decision to, support Palestine, or, we can talk about Senegal and all the other wars, you just pointed the biggest, but there are many other wars where genocide is committed, and we do not talk about that. So this is very complicated questions, and I think, as I said, it's a bit unfair asking us what do we think, how we support, not support, talking to our governments or not. Because that's the politicians, I'm speaking for myself. I go to elections, I vote, using my, right as a citizen of Poland, as a citizen of Europe, of the world. And I go to marches, I support causes which I think I should support. But all of us here may have other things and take other decisions. So I think asking us these questions and expecting the general kind of answer is not fair. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Well, it's first of all, it's like I don't even know what the general kind of answer is. I definitely think that maybe the way he phrased it, you can say that like I don't know that topic is relevant to any of the films currently at this festival or something. I don't know, but it's like you can spin that in a way to still talk about the films themselves. If you're saying the whole thing about movies are political in terms of they promote empathy or whatever, it's like, well, yeah, shouldn't people have empathy for victims of a genocide? He wasn't asking you to like detail policy or something. He's asking about what responsibility do you think that like you have to show solidarity with certain people, which obviously if you're making movies about people in general, if you're making stuff that is supposed to be empathetic, I think that there probably is a better way to answer it than to just say that, like, well, they're not political that way. Not that way.
Cannot really enter the field of politics.
Yeah, so this is the jury president right here where he says we can't enter politics or whatever.
Yes. So I think asking us these questions and expecting the general kind of answer is not fair. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
We cannot really enter the field of politics. We have to stay out of politics because if we made movies that are dedicatedly political, we enter the field of politics, but we are the counterweight to politics. We are the opposite of politics. We have to do the work of people and not the work of politicians.
Well, but your stuff is still political. You're not doing the work of politicians. No one's asking you to, like, write the laws. But you still, like, again, movies are about empathy. Politics are also kind of about empathy. It's about who we show empathy for, who we decide is, like, a worthy human to exist and have rights. So, what? What do you mean? What do you mean we have to stay out of politics? That's so dumb. And then, so that already sparked some backlash just from that. That was day one of the festival that happened. And then I don't remember how to pronounce it. It's like Arundhati Roy quit the Berlin Film Festival. So this is I believe an author. Yep, an author withdrew from the Berlin Film Festival after the jury president, Wim Wenders, said filmmakers should stay out of politics when asked about Israel's war on Gaza. So already that was pissing a lot of people off, that response. And then this same journalist, I think, yeah, it's the same guy, went and asked Neil Patrick Harris at whatever panel he was doing for whatever movie he's in that's about, like, cancer or something. He asked him about political statements, and here's what Neil said.
I have a question to the director, George, and maybe Neil or Bella. I was wondering if you guys consider your art political, and if so, how can movies these days help fight the rise of fascism in Europe and America?
Well, I think...
And so this one already is way more broad. He's not even asking specifically about, like, Israel, Palestine, or anything. He's saying specifically, how do we fight fascism with art? And here's what Neil has to say about it.
In Europe and America.
Well, I think we live in a strangely algorithmic and divided world right now. And so as artists, I'm always interested in doing things that are apolitical, because we're all, as humans, wanting to connect in some way. That's why we experience things together. And so when you get to go to a film where you're caring about the people, you're caring about the heart of what's happening.
But that's political. How's that apolitical?
You know, you're watching this film of these young adults growing up under the umbrella of a world where some of them won't. And I think that is so touching and also kind of exciting and rebellious and horny. And like, it's fun to be able to witness that without having to process it through a contemporary lens, right? It is so current and yet timeless. So getting to spend time in strangely sunny Glasgow, Scotland. It didn't rain once, for the entirety of the time we were there.
It cost us a fortune turning off the rain.
And then...
It's like everyone is just... They're interpreting politics as, like, specifically addressing specific policies or something, maybe? It's just weird the way that everyone seems to think the word political means something so specific, when it's like, no, if you're saying that movies are about people connecting with other people, that's political. That's political. I don't know what to tell you. And then here's Rupert Grint also being asked about the rise of fascism.
Have you ever considered commenting about the rise of fascism in Great Britain that's currently happening?
Well, obviously I'm against it. But no, I mean, I choose my moments when to speak.
I love it when celebrities say that too. It's like the shit that fucking Sydney Sweeney tried of, when I have something to say, you'll hear it. Or well, Jelly Roll at the Grammys was like, in a week, I'm gonna drop my political opinions. They always are like, they're almost hyping it up. They're like, look, I have to wait for the right moment, but you'll know when it happens. It's like, no, just answer the question. Just answer the question.
I think, yeah, it's obviously hugely relevant now times. But yeah, I think, yeah, you'll hear from me.
All right, let me know when that happens, Rupert. Rupert at least seemed just like kind of unsure of what to say. Like I don't even know. It's just a weird response, period. But then the director of whatever movie he did say something a little bit more substantive, so I'll highlight that. I don't know what movie they did, but...
For Ilya and Hannah. Ilya is, you are at a famously...
It is this guy again. He was terrorizing these people.
Political film festival, and we live in a time of genocide and the rise of fascism in Europe and the US, and our governments not standing up for human rights, no matter for who it is. What's your opinion on about artists being political and using their voice for good. And Hannah, why are you wearing a watermelon pin?
Well, I think it's kind of like art doesn't necessarily have to be political, but then everything is, no matter what you do, and since we can't really affect a genocidal situation with doing art, then we still have this spotlight that shines on us, then I think it is important to shine a light on whatever issues we are facing with, because art is all about empathy and, you know, the people who can solve problems, politicians or millionaires who don't do anything but cause problems, then it's maybe good to create some form of pressure or just to get people aware of whatever is happening in the world and what are the wrongs that are taking place, like war in Ukraine or genocide in Palestine.
Yeah, and I agree. Anyway, since, of course, every film can't be about every topic in the world, and it doesn't need to be, but as grown-up human beings, I think we have a responsibility to speak up against violence and against injustice, because not speaking up is also a choice. And especially it's important that we don't tell other fellow artists that they shouldn't speak up. And yeah, when tens of thousands of people are getting killed, no one can say, there's no excuse for that, ever.
Yeah, and if art doesn't engage in it at all, then art is just escapism, and that's...
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Elia.
That's definitely better. Interesting haircut there, dude, but love it. I do kind of disagree with what he said a little bit in here about, what did he say?
To be political, but then everything is, no matter what you do, and since we can't really affect a genocidal situation with doing art, then we still have this.
I disagree with that part of, like, you can't affect it. It's like, yeah, you can't save everybody. You're not going to end it by just having, like, one good movie. But I do think that, like, art is a part of how the Overton window gets shifted, you know? When you tap into someone's emotions, when you get people to empathize with people that they maybe wouldn't otherwise, that, like, especially other parts of the media are telling them not to empathize with, you do shift things, you know? It's small, but it is worth it. So I do think that art does have an effect, and I think that's part of why you do it, right? Is to try to put something better into the world that maybe is missing without that commentary. Then Michelle Yeoh, I couldn't find a clip of her saying this. I didn't look that hard, though, to be honest with you. But she was asked about specifically U.S. politics. So it says, Michelle Yeoh declined to speak about U.S. politics during a press conference at Berlin Film Festival, saying, "It's best not to talk about something I don't know about." When asked by a reporter if she had any comment as an international actress on the current state of the U.S., likely meaning Trump's ongoing ICE raids, though that was not specified, Yeoh said, "I don't think I am in the position to really talk about the political situation in the U.S., and also I cannot presume to say I understand how it is, so best not to talk about something I don't know about." And that one, to me, people are ripping into her for this, and I'm like, this one I understand a little bit more, because as it says here, she is Malaysian and primarily lives in Switzerland. So it's like, yeah, asking her to comment on the situation in the US is maybe a little unfair, because I don't know what expertise could she really have in it. I can say that as an American who's watching this stuff happen on my own, like, televisions and on my own social media and everything, I think that the decision to not speak up about what's happening in the US, especially in regards to ICE, is kind of crazy, but I have no fucking clue what Michelle Yeoh is aware of or isn't aware of. She doesn't live here. So this is the one where I'm like, all right, I can go a little bit lighter on Michelle Yeoh, because why was she asked about to speak on the politics of a country she doesn't live in? I mean, it still is going to affect her and maybe affect her relationship with the industry, but I don't know. There are a lot of other people that I think should be speaking on it more. Because it's like, especially, she was specifically asked about the politics in the US. Whereas, like, Rupert Grint was asked about the rise of fascism in the US and the UK. So, that's that is like really specifically something that he can talk about. Michelle Yeoh was asked about the situation in the US, which she might not even really know what that means. So I'm gonna let up on Michelle Yeoh a little bit. But then there was Trisha Tuttle, who I don't even remember. Oh, from the head of the festival, over what she describes as a media storm that has swept over the festival. The note sent out on Saturday night comes following criticism faced by multiple attendees over the comments about politics, most notably the jury in the opening day press conference. Faced with questions about the conflict in Gaza, jury head Wim Wenders said, "We have to stay out of politics because if we make movies that are dedicatedly political, we enter the field of politics," prompting immediate backlash on social media. Blah, 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 blah. So this is the statement. People have called for free speech at the Berlinale. I don't even know how to say it. Berlinale. Free speech is happening at the Berlinale, but increasingly filmmakers are expected to answer any question put to them. They are criticized if they do answer. They are criticized if they answer. Well, it's like, well, yeah, if they say something that people disagree with, they're going to get criticized. That's a part of speaking publicly. Sorry. They are criticized if they answer and we do not like what they say. They are criticized if they cannot compress complex thoughts into a brief soundbites when a microphone is placed in front of them when they thought they were speaking about something else. It's like, okay, but these questions aren't that fucking hard to answer. Let's be so fucking for real. And especially, I could maybe, because I do think Rupert Grint seemed a little thrown. Neil Patrick Harris almost seemed like he had his answer, like he was so quick with it. Rupert, I do think, was maybe like searching for an answer in his brain really fast and didn't know exactly what to say. But like also, as we've already said, it started when Wim Wenders said we have to stay out of politics. So it's like at the start of the fucking festival, you knew this was a conversation. If you didn't have an answer that you prepared in that time, if no one got the memo of like, hey, people are getting asked about politics, make sure you like think about that. Try to think about what your answer is going to be. Then I don't fucking, okay, they didn't have the perfect soundbite ready. I don't need the perfect soundbite. I just need like a somewhat thoughtful answer, which none of them could give. It's hard to see the Berlinale and so many hundreds of filmmakers and people who work on this festival distilled into something we do not always recognize in the online and media discourse. What? Over the next 10 days at the Berlinale, filmmakers are speaking constantly. They are speaking through their work. They are speaking about their work. They are speaking at times about geopolitics that may or may not be related to their films. Okay, but some of them weren't even, they were just asked about, hey, what do you think about addressing like the rise of fascism in art, period. It's like, well, that's still relevant if you're an artist. That's relevant all the time. It is a large, complex festival, a festival that many people value in so many different ways for so many reasons. There are 278 films in this year's program. They carry many perspectives. Exactly! Which is why someone should be able to answer reasonably. There are films about genocide, about sexual violence and war, about corruption, about patriarchal violence, about colonialism or abusive state power, which is why it's fucking ridiculous for you to say that movies aren't political. Which is what the fucking president or the head of the jury said. So he's wrong. You disagree with him. There are filmmakers here who have faced violence and genocide in their lives, who may face prison exile and even death for the work they have made or positions they have taken. They come to Berlin and share their work with courage. This is happening now. Are we amplifying those voices enough? I don't know. Are you? There are also filmmakers who come to ask the Berlinale with different political aims, to ask how we can talk about art as art and how we can keep cinemas alive so that independent films still have a place to be seen and discussed. Blah, blah, blah. I don't even, oh my God, it's so long. Just saying a bunch of bullshit. Shit where it's like, yeah, then people should be able to answer the questions. The questions weren't that hard. No one was asking, like, what's your solution to the conflict in Israel and Palestine? People asked so broadly about, what do you think the role of art is in fighting fascism? If you don't have any answer for that at all, then I don't know that you're really that much of an artist. But okay, whatever. Then here's Charlie's answer when she's asked.
At both Sundance and here at the Berlinale.
I don't even know actually what she was asked. I don't know what the lead-in for this is, especially for something else I'm going to show in a second.
I mean, I think both festivals really do champion a wide variety of filmmakers with really important voices. I mean, this festival in particular is known for not shying away from political films, from films that have a real social angle, from films by directors who really are visionary and have something to say. And I think for me as a producer, as an actor, for Aidan as a director, for David as a producer, I think, you know, those are the kinds of films that we love. Those are the films that we want to champion ourselves. And I feel like, you know, I'm only just starting out in this industry, but I feel passionate about working within those spaces. And I just think we all feel so honored to be here. And yeah, we're very, very thankful for this festival because I think it's very important that it exists.
Well, I mean, that's definitely, I would say a better answer, but I don't even know what question she was asking, because that guy who was asking all those different celebrities stuff, he was there at that press conference, and he called it a simulation of a press conference with Charlie XCX at, how do we pronounce it? Someone said in the thing. Berlinale? At Berlinale just now, the moderator only allowed 2 questions from reporters and asked a dozen of softball questions herself. Pathetic behavior by the festival and a dangerous precedent. So it sounds like at some point they kind of started putting the festival on lockdown and restricting the amount that reporters could even ask the press, the people doing the press conferences stuff anyway. So it's kind of nice. I would assume that Charlie saw what was happening and was like, okay, I need to like address the fact that I do think films are political. So she just kind of said something, but it's not like she was asked anything super specific. So it's not like that substantive anyway, but she at least had the smarts to be like, hey, let me go during my press conference and at least acknowledge the movies are political. So thanks for that, Charlie. Wish someone would have been able to ask you some more, like, specific questions. But I don't think that's necessarily her fault. It's probably the film festival itself putting the press conferences on lockdown. But, oh my god. Anyway, moving on to Charlie. She has, of course, released her new album for Wuthering Heights this weekend, released on February 13th. I have only listened to it once because I wanted to wait until I saw the movie so that I could, like, get the effect of the movie, of the music in the movie before I just listened to the album on its own. So I've only listened to it once. I listened to it earlier today. I'm going to listen to it more when I can actually, like, really focus on it. Like, I want to take an edible, put in my headphones, really let it surround me. But thus far, my impressions are good. And I already liked the songs that she had released prior, so I wasn't surprised. But it's a great album and a great little companion piece to the movie. Perhaps one might say better than the movie, but, you know, we'll talk about the movie in a second. But this does seem to be marking the end of the Brat era, as she herself has said.
So this is really over now. The Brat summer is over.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of up to the world, but for me, it's over, and I guess you can't dread the end when it's over.
So this is really over now. The Brat summer is over.
So there it is. Brat's done. Which makes sense. And I do think this was I don't know how strategic it was of her to do this, but I think transitioning away from Brat with an album that's like a companion piece for a movie is very smart, because it's like she hasn't necessarily entered a new album era where she's going to be getting even more scrutiny of like how's she going to follow up Brat with her own. It is her own album. It's a Charlie XCX album, but it's not like necessarily a new entry into the Charlie XCX pop star canon. It's more of a transition into her film era. She's obviously not just doing Wuthering Heights. She's done a few other movies as like an actress. She didn't act in Wuthering Heights, but she's done a few movies as an actress, and then she has The Moment as well, which I haven't even watched The Moment yet. I wanted to, but then it came to our theater a little late, like a week or two later than it came to a lot of other theaters. And by the time it came out, I had other stuff to watch. I needed to watch. I love Charlie, but when it came to our theater was the same week that Send Help came to our theater, and I've been a Sam Raimi stan for longer than I've been a Charlie stan, so I did have to make that my priority. And I did also want to see Wuthering Heights when it came out this weekend, so that we could talk about it. So I have not yet seen The Moment, but I will. I will. But she's in her film era. She's really all in. Anyway, moving on to our main event. Let's talk about Wuthering Heights. Oh, what the hell? That's stupid. Here's another tweet, I guess. So, I found this kind of interesting. It looks like it's evened out now, but it was a very, very polarizing film initially when it came onto Letterboxd. Lots of... Normally, if you look at the Letterboxd rating, it'll be like kind of low here, and then there'll be a little peak up here, because most movies are mid. Most movies, the reviews sit like right around here, but this is like, we had 5 stars, we had 1 stars, kind of all over the place. So I was definitely very interested to see what this movie was going to be like and how I was going to fall onto this, what would you call it? Like a spectrum. But I do think that before we talk about the movie itself, a lot of the feelings people have about the movie, people had before they even saw it, because a lot of people just have a lot of opinions about Emerald Fennell as a director. So I do think it's kind of worth starting the conversation there. So and she's only 3 movies in. Like, she's not like, it's pretty remarkable that she's managed to become this controversial and this polarizing. And this is her 3rd movie. She only had 2 movies before this and already has quite the reputation. But, so the first movie that she released as a director and as a writer, she writes and directs all of her movies thus far, which is maybe part of her, the problem. I think as a writer and as a director, she's stronger as one of those things than she is the other. But she came out with Promising Young Woman in 2021. It was initially met with like a fairly good response. What Promising Young Woman gets right about sexual assault. It was considered like a feminist movie. It was considered to be a new type of entry into the rape revenge genre. People liked it. At first, it got good reviews. It got some Oscar nominations. People liked it, which of course then brought the backlash. So one of the big things is that people really didn't like the ending of the movie. And I don't want to get into spoilers, but the ending is controversial. Let's just say. Some people like it, some people don't. If you watch it on your own, you'll have your own feelings about it. But then after that, after people started really criticizing the ending, people kind of expanded beyond that and just started talking about the general issues maybe with the movie from like a feminist lens. So this is from Slate, Promising Young Woman's flaws run deeper than its ending. More and more criticism started to come out about this movie, especially because the movie was very popular and it got a lot of hype right off the bat. And people found the movie to be a little overhyped. And I do think a lot of the criticisms of the movie were valid. The main problem, though, is that, like, there's a lot of, like, really on-the-nose commentary in Promising Young Woman, which makes it, like, essentially impossible to ignore the, like, socio-political themes of the film. At the same time, though, once you start doing some sort of, like, in-depth analysis of those themes, pretty easy to poke holes in it. The commentary maybe just isn't as thoughtful or as consistent as would be needed to have it like fully classified as a feminist film, which is what people were trying to do. And this is kind of an issue with Emerald Fennell films just in general. The movie is kind of like inviting you to do analysis, but then once you actually start doing the analysis to see what it is that the film is really trying to say, it falls flat, you know? The more and more you think about it, the more it's harder to defend it. And I think that that's kind of what sets it apart from some other similar movies, like especially if we think about the rape revenge genre of films. A lot of those are also like incredibly misogynistic and not super feminist at all, but a lot of those movies aren't necessarily taking themselves as seriously as Promising Young Woman does in moments. So they get to be considered more of like nice, like, I don't know, wish fulfillment movies in a way. You know, you're just watching it and you're like, yay, kill the rapists. And there's just a lot more scrutiny being put onto Emerald Fennell's work because of the work itself, because of the fact that the amount that she seems to be taking the commentary of the movie seriously does seem to waver, like scene to scene. And then also just the fact that she's a woman, too. I do think that has a lot to do with it. I think that men probably could make a movie with as many flaws as Emerald Fennell made and would not receive the same kind of criticism for it. Especially because it's like the backlash, as valid as I do think some of the criticisms were, the backlash got so hyperbolic. Like, Promising Young Woman, how one movie ruined an entire genre. Did it? First of all, I'm assuming the genre we're thinking of here is like the rape revenge genre. And how popular were those in the mainstream anyway at this point? I can't even really think of the last time that we had one get released at a wide scale. So to say that she ruined the entire genre is just fucking crazy. And then it says, if there's one thing we can trust Emerald Fennell to do, it's to create awful movies that market themselves as being about weight social issues while saying absolutely nothing, hiding behind a glitzy exterior and distracting audiences behind pretty images. In the rise of Tumblr-esque cinema, in which filmmakers prioritize style over substance to appeal to a vapid culture that places appearances above everything else, we have slowly been inundated with a new wave of films that prefer to say nothing and focus on looking good, very much reflecting the ideology that dominates the internet and our ever-fading values. First of all, what Tumblr-esque cinema are you seeing the rise of? Movies that come out today, especially at the scale that Wuthering Heights and Promising Young Woman and Saltburn came out, they're ugly. They're so fucking ugly. What are we talking about? What trend are you seeing? But then also, I do have some issue with this idea that Fennell's work is just fully style over substance. I think that she does kind of lose track of the substance a lot of the times, but I also think that in her movies, yes, they are very stylish, but I think that the style complements the movies thematically anyway. Like, there is thought put into the aesthetics of the film. It is actually, it's not just about looking good, it is kind of meaningful. Like, Promising Young Woman has some very, like, kind of soft, girly aesthetics in different spots, and that is intentional. It's not just, like, a stylistic choice of, like, oh, I think this will look cute. That is a part of the storytelling. Because it's also, one of the things with Promising Young Woman is she got all the actors, all these actors who have played, like, nice guys in different movies and TV shows to kind of lull you into a sense of security with them, and then they turn out to be either rapists or men who have enabled rape in some different way. And that's a part of, like, the girly aesthetics, too. That one of the big things is that the main character and then Bo Burnham's character, they have a whole montage to Stars Are Blind by Paris Hilton. And part of that is that Bo Burnham's character knows all the words to the Paris Hilton song, which makes you think like, oh my God, he's just like one of the girls. He's good with girly shit. He isn't like one of those toxic bros that can't listen to Paris Hilton. And then it turns out, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's like, yeah, he's not a great guy. And that's a part of it. That is the style that she's actually using as a part of the storytelling tactics. I think it is very dismissive to just be like, oh, she just makes movies that look cute. It's like, well, that's a part of the storytelling, actually. It's supposed to be. For like a good filmmaker. But that's the thing, is that I almost think that movies have been so goddamn ugly for so long that people forget that they're supposed to look good and that's supposed to be meaningful. And then she won the Oscar for original screenplay, and people are again, they're just so fucking overdramatic about it. Emerald Fennell winning original screenplay for Promising Young Women was honestly one of the worst wins in Oscar history. I don't think the screenplay was perfect, but like, do you know how many movies have won Oscars? A lot. I don't even think that this win would crack the top 100 of the dumbest decisions that have been made at the Oscars. It was mostly just kind of like, yeah, I don't think that screenplay was that good. But okay. But people really have it in for her. And then a similar kind of thing, a similar sort of cycle happened with Saltburn, her next movie, where it was positively received at first, but there was also a lot of attention being put onto the socio-political commentary, which here it says skewers Britain's super rich. So it's like an anti-classism thing, or like an anti-rich thing. And then people, of course, when you start really looking into that, when you start looking into the commentary that Saltburn is providing, isn't really saying all the stuff that people said that it was saying. Maybe not, or at least it's not saying it consistently or coherently. So then immediately the discussion turns to Saltburn, an ostentatious black comedy designed to shock. Emerald Fennell's decadent second feature about an Oxford scholarship student who winds up living in his friend's lavish family mansion presents a provocative eat-the-rich shtick that quickly wears thin. It's like, yeah, it does kind of wear thin. She doesn't really stick the landing there. And the main problem with this movie really is that I think a lot of people interpreted it to be about class disparities, but I don't think it's about that as much. I think that the whole movie is just about kind of like yearning in general. And the class disparities was sort of a feature of that, of like someone who doesn't have as much money yearning for this lifestyle that is very decadent and very full of like wealth. But, and that's again, if we're saying that it's style over substance, again, part of the style is the substance, or part of the substance is the style. The fact that it looks so beautiful. Like when you're watching it, you're like, God damn, I wish I was there. That's a part of like trying to get you to feel the sort of yearning that the main character feels. Now, the part of the problem with that movie, though, is the fact that there's a twist. Look, my fucking tongue's blue again. There's a twist that does undermine some of those themes a little bit. And the twist is also just generally pretty silly. And this is something that, like, I don't know. I quite honestly, I still don't know how I feel about Saltburn. And part of that, too, it might be because of when I watched it. I watched it the first time that I had COVID. So I was in quarantine, and it had, like, just came out on streaming. I was in quarantine, and I watched it for the first time when I was like, okay, I'm in quarantine. I'll pass the time by watching new movies. pretty quickly after that, I was like, I do not have the brain capacity to watch any new movies. I can only watch things that I've already seen before. So I just kept watching Saltburn. So it became like a kind of very specific comfort film for me, where I just have I have affection for it for that reason of like, look, it helped me get through COVID. I don't know what to tell you. But it really reminds me of a kind of movie that you would watch at like a sleepover with your friends in like high school or middle school, where it's like, it's edgy, but it's really only edgy up to a certain point. It's not super, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not exceptionally off-putting. It's just kind of edgy enough to get like a younger audience, or like a more kind of mainstream audience, to be like, oh my god, he's drinking his bathwater that he just came in? He's humping the dirt that he was buried in? You know, it's cheeky in a way, and it's silly, and it's campy. And I think that almost still kind of works for the movie thematically, even though I think like the actual text of the movie undermines its own themes to a large extent. The fact that it becomes so fucking silly in the end makes it feel more kind of like adolescent in a way. And with the whole movie being sort of about yearning and such, it's like, well, when do you do the best yearning? It's when you're a teenager. And the movie does kind of make you feel like a teenager watching like a dirty movie. So there is something about it that still has like a level of charm to me. It is just, I don't know, kind of campy and fun. It reminds me of like, I think I tweeted it the other day, but you have to almost think about it as like a Rocky Horror show, picture show movie, where when you really think about Rocky Horror Picture Show and you actually sit down and you watch the movie without anyone with you, you just watch it like front to back, it's like, is Rocky Horror a good movie? No, not really. But that's not why you watch it. You watch it because it's fun, you watch it because it's campy, and you also watch it usually with other people, you know? It's like a sleepover movie. Or it's a midnight showing movie. Dude, if they had midnight showings of Saltburn, 100% I would go. 100%. Because that's just the kind of movie that it is for me. And I do think that Emerald Fennell is somewhat like Stephenie Meyer, in a sense, where obviously there are a lot of flaws in Twilight. There are problems with the writing, there's problems with the gender politics of the franchise. But what Stephenie Meyer has, and what Emerald Fennell has, is they do kind of understand the mind of a teenage girl in a lot of ways. You know, they make things for the young girl who yearns. That is their specialty. That's their superpower. They understand what the teenage girl mind wants to see or read about, and what gets them going, what gets them horny. And for sure, there's stuff in Saltburn where I'm like, yeah, that works for me. That really, really works for me. And most of it, the highlight of the movie, is the way that Emerald Fennell films Jacob Elordi. Emerald Fennell understands how hot Jacob Elordi is, and everything about the way that she films him, like the camera angles, the way that she lights him, the way that she lingers shots onto him, she gets it. She understands. It's like that is kind of the female gaze. If there's a female gaze, it's in Emerald Fennell's movies. Because Emerald Fennell knows what the girlies want to see. Most of the girlies, maybe not everybody. But it worked. It worked for me. Especially in Saltburn. Jacob Elordi is hot as fuck. That gets us to Wuthering Heights, which literally the reason that Wuthering Heights exists is because Emerald Fennell thought that Jacob Elordi was hot as fuck. She said, this is from a Vogue interview. This new Wuthering Heights was conceived 3 years ago. At the time, Fennell was shooting Saltburn and thinking about what would be next. But then she saw Elordi in costume as Saltburn's rakish Felix Cadden, complete with the naughty sideburns. I was like, oh my god, it's Heathcliff on the cover of the book that I've had since I was a teenager, Fennell tells me a few days later over the phone from the editing suite. She became obsessed with the idea of a fresh retelling, one that captured the visceral experience of reading the novel for the first time age 14 and how it kind of got inside me. So just straight up, the reason that Emerald Fennell made Wuthering Heights is because she thought Jacob Elordi was hot. That is the reason that this movie exists. Which is maybe going to cause some problems. So, she announced the movie in July of 2024. At this point, she hasn't announced anything else about it. She just announced that she is making a Wuthering Heights movie, but she hasn't announced the casting yet. Already, people are very apprehensive. So this is from the AV Club. God help us, Emerald Fennell is doing Wuthering Heights next. And look, the thing is, at this stage, this is where I start to have a real bias that's pro Emerald Fennell. Because the thing that I was seeing the most that really, really bothered me from a really almost like a political lens in a sense, I saw people saying stuff of who gave her the right to adapt Wuthering Heights? And that really bothered me. As someone who does really care about protecting artists' freedom of speech, as we talked about last week with my criticisms of Hassan and his bullshit response to having to deal with the Content ID system on YouTube, the ways that the world around us at large tries to discourage people from exercising their freedom of speech, and in America, their right to fair use, their right to do commentary on copywritten material. There's so much rhetoric around that reinforces this idea that certain work, pre-existing work, is off limits to people. Even though that's ridiculous because every work at this point is derivative of something else. So you're never making something that's fully original. But people get very, very upset when there are adaptations of anything. People get very, possessive over things. And what made me mad about the Wuthering Heights conversation is, who gave Emerald Fennell the rights to make a Wuthering Heights movie? Everyone has the right to make a Wuthering Heights movie. Absolutely everyone. It is in the public domain. Anyone can do it. Obviously, you need to, finance the movie. You need to be able to make a movie. And especially at the scale that she's at, she is getting funding from people, and she has, a distribution deal. But when you're saying, who gave Emerald Fennell the right to make Wuthering Heights, all you're really saying is who gave Emerald Fennell the right to make a movie. Because everyone has the right to do whatever the fuck they want with Wuthering Heights. And I really, really don't like this idea that you need permission from any sort of external entity to adapt something in the public domain. And here are all the adaptations of Wuthering Heights that have existed. I get being really, really precious about movies that there aren't a lot of adaptations about. Obviously, with stuff that's more current, where people do still retain their copyrights, Game of Thrones. The guys who did the Game of Thrones books had to guess who Jon Snow's dad was or something. They had to talk to George R.R. Martin and show that they had some sort of deep understanding of Game of Thrones and of the universe that qualified them to make the TV show. They had to earn that. And the same thing with what we're talking about with Justin Baldoni and the way that he became the director of It Ends With Us. He had to talk to Colleen Hoover and like really sway her into letting him have the rights to do it. That is something where I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, because those are works that are not getting adapted at all. And so, of course, the person who owns the copyright is going to be really precious about what they allow in an adaptation. That makes sense. And it also makes sense for the fans of that work, of the original material, to be concerned about how this one adaptation is going to represent a source material that they love. With Wuthering Heights, though, I'm like, dude, there's been so many fucking adaptations. And are they all great? No. But if you're a really huge fan of Wuthering Heights, you do have a lot of options. So I just think that, like, we gotta let anyone who wants to make a Wuthering Heights movie, at least let them try, you know? I was just very against this idea that she just didn't have the right to do it. I think that is just... It's not really the right way to look at stuff that's in the public domain. Fucking everybody has the right to do it. Everyone. If you want to go, if you want to make a fucking movie that you just post onto YouTube that's an adaptation of Wuthering Heights, you can do it. You don't need anybody's permission. None. That being said, when you're doing an adaptation, if you're calling it an adaptation, you should expect people to compare your work to the original work. And you should definitely think about that in your general marketing. And here's part of the problem with the Wuthering Heights movie. It's the fact that it's called Wuthering Heights. That's it. She did put the title in quotes to kind of indicate that, like, oh, it's Wuthering Heights, but it is still called Wuthering Heights, and I think that was a bad idea. Here's what she said of why she wanted to make the movie. She said, fell in love with the Gothic classic as a teenager, tells Entertainment Weekly that she began developing the film's script by challenging herself to recall as much as she could about its tragic story. It was funny, you know, I think the things that I remembered were both real and not real. So there was a certain amount of wish fulfillment in there, and there were whole characters that I'd sort of forgotten or consolidated. So she said she wanted to make something that was my response and interpretation to the book and to the feeling of it. So basically, she just sort of took her own memory of reading the book at 14, when she probably didn't even have that good of an understanding of the book in the first place, didn't totally understand what the book was doing, what the movie was really, or the story was really even about. So maybe don't call it Wuthering Heights, because here's the thing. There was another Wuthering Heights movie that came out in December of 2024. And people don't think of it as a Wuthering Heights adaptation because it did not call itself a Wuthering Heights adaptation. It called itself Nosferatu, which obviously is also an adaptation of Nosferatu, and it's a more dedicated adaptation of Nosferatu than it is of Wuthering Heights. But Robert Eggers did say that when kind of establishing the dynamic amongst the characters, he thought a lot about Wuthering Heights. That was his, like, main inspiration. So I think Robert Eggers had the better idea here of, like, make a Wuthering Heights that's just not called Wuthering Heights. And this is the same thing too of, like, so Romeo and Juliet, which actually does get mentioned in the movie, and I don't know exactly how much her mention of Romeo and Juliet in Wuthering Heights was, like, I mean, I do think it was definitely intentional, but I don't know what all she was trying to imply about that movie's legacy in comparison to Wuthering Heights, but whatever. Romeo and Juliet is a story that has been told many, many, many times, but not with the name Romeo and Juliet. Like, West Side Story, that's Romeo and Juliet. Grease, that's Romeo and Juliet. High School Musical, That's Romeo and Juliet. The thing is, especially you think about like Grease and High School Musical, those endings are incredibly different. Those are happy endings, whereas Romeo and Juliet does not have a happy ending whatsoever. No one ever accuses Grease or High School Musical of not getting the point of Romeo and Juliet, even though it does change the story pretty fundamentally. No one is like, oh, they didn't get the point of Shakespeare's original work, because those movies didn't call themselves Romeo and Juliet, they called themselves something else. So I think that Emerald could have just saved herself a lot of trouble and a lot of criticism by not calling the movie Wuthering Heights. She was inviting people to compare it with the book and then accuse her of not really getting the point of the book, which, yeah, I having seen the movie, I'm like, yeah, I don't know that she really got the point of the book, but I think that's fine. I think that it's fine for her to make something that's completely different. But part of the other problem here is that not only are you inviting criticisms of your work by not making your new movie, not making it like a true adaptation, you're inviting criticisms for that reason specifically. When you make a movie called Wuthering Heights, and especially when you make the main character, the male main character named Heathcliff, you are putting your movie into a larger media canon. There it is, Wuthering Heights 2026, directed by Emerald Fennell and starring Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi. And this is a media canon that has irked people for one specific reason for a long time. And that is the frequent casting of Heathcliff as a white man. Now, in the book, it's never specifically said what Heathcliff's character is. It's kept kind of ambiguous for a particular reason. He's definitely not white, but he could be like spicy white, I guess you could say. He's maybe not necessarily what we would consider to be a non-white race or ethnicity at this point, but at the time, like, he could have maybe been Spanish. Most likely he was Romani, though in the book, different characters say different things about his race and about his appearance, but he definitely is not just a white guy. However, in a lot of the adaptations of Wuthering Heights, he is played by a white man. So definitely there is a contribution here to a whitewashing, a historical whitewashing, that again really could have just been avoided had you just called the movie something else. And I think that this is one of the things where it's like, this is the most valid, like, socio-political critique of the film, that she was kind of fucked by continuing to add to this tradition of Heathcliff not being portrayed by a man of color, because it is kind of important to the story. It's very important to the story. The thing is, it's not necessarily important to Emerald's story. It's not super important to the way that she interpreted the story of Wuthering Heights, but it is important to the history of Wuthering Heights as like a piece of work that's been adapted many times. It is very important to that history, and for her to miss it, I understand why that pissed a lot of people off. And there were a lot of valid critiques of the story, of her decision, of this film in that regard. It was a little... This is the thing. This has always been the most valid criticism of the movie. Other than, like, in terms of before people even saw the movie. I think there are definitely other valid criticisms you can make of the movie. But before it even came out, this is the thing that one of the things that people were talking about to discredit it. And this, what was kind of frustrating about this conversation, though, is the fact that this is one of the things people are using to discredit it, but I don't even think it was the main thing for a long time. I think it's kind of become the main thing in the last few months, specifically because people have maybe picked up this is the thing. There were the initial criticisms. There was the criticism that came from people who specifically like really like Wuthering Heights, like care about that piece of literature specifically, and have always been vexed by these decisions to not cast Heathcliff as a person of color. There were those people who were initially, like, immediately when the casting came out, were like, oh fuck, again? Those people were right the whole time. Then there was like another like batch of, before that there was just the entire criticism of like, oh, I hate that Emerald Fennell gets to adapt this source material. So there was that, and then there were the people with the valid criticisms, and then there were the other people that swooped in and had a whole bunch of bullshit to say that was separate of any of the like racial commentary. Then a lot of those people that had the bullshit commentary realized that the racial commentary was the most like morally righteous way to attack the film, and then so they switched to that, but it did it in the like the most obnoxious way possible, where I fucking was seeing people on my timeline in these last few weeks, anyone who who says that they liked the movie at all will be like, I can't believe you would support that racist propaganda. And it's like, okay, now you're clearly just using that point as a way to like feel morally superior to the people that like the movie. And a lot of the people that liked the movie probably never even read Wuthering Heights and don't even really know that much about this history in the first place. So it's just so obnoxious of people trying to use valid critiques as like a point against other people. Especially because I fucking saw the controversy happen in front of me. I saw the entire evolution of it. There were always some valid critiques from the beginning since Jacob Elordi got cast, but the shit that I saw the most of, the thing that I actually saw people talking about the fucking most, was about the goddamn outfits. Especially after the photos of Margot Robbie in her like wedding dress came out from the set. These photos were all over my timeline. All over my timeline of people being like, oh, that's not, they wouldn't have had that in that particular period. This is not historically accurate. I'm like, shut the fuck up, dude. Who cares? Who fucking cares? You know what else is probably not going to be historically accurate? The way that her skin looks. The fact that she's fucking Margot Robbie. You think that people just looked like Margot Robbie back then? No. The fact that like her eyebrows are so meticulously plucked doesn't make any sense if you're actually trying to be the most historically accurate. And I saw people being like, oh my god, I was going to give the movie a chance, but now I see that she doesn't care about the accuracy of the book at all. And by this point, when people were saying that, Jacob Elordi's casting had already been announced. So it's like literally people saying, I can excuse whitewashing, but I draw the line at anachronistic costuming. I'm like, come on. So I was already sort of primed to defend Emerald Fennell and defend this this movie, just because I thought so much of the backlash around it was so ridiculous. But again, I do think she somewhat invited that upon herself by naming the movie Wuthering Heights in the first place. But so, I watched it, and I really wanted to, I went in, I read Wuthering Heights, I don't even think I ever actually finished it, but I know that I started Wuthering Heights when I was like in high school. I didn't remember much about it at all. I did when I was watching the movie, I was like, oh, wait, actually, that does feel familiar. But I specifically decided, like, I'm not going to refresh my memory whatsoever. I'm not going to read a synopsis. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to go into this movie thinking about it just as a movie that I'm watching. Already that was kind of impossible because it's like, even just having the knowledge of the fact that it was an adaptation, I was like, there were certain things that happened in the movie where I was like, there's just no way that was in the book. It is kind of impossible to separate the two when you know. I mean, she called it Wuthering Heights. If you didn't want people to think of it as an adaptation, call it something else. So it was kind of impossible to not think about the book at all, but I went in thinking, I'm just gonna watch this just as a movie. Period. So that's what I did. And here's my review. Now, warning, there are going to be spoilers here. I'm not going to spoil everything, but I am going to spoil some stuff. So if you haven't seen the movie, if you haven't read the book, I mean, if you have read, I mean, it won't even really matter if you've read the book, because it is very different. But this is the movie. So it starts off with this scene of a guy, he's like, it starts off with a hanging, but it starts off really with a black screen, and then you just hear a guy's like voice, like breathing. It really sounds like someone's having sex. Of course, when it goes to the actual scene, what you're looking at, and here, this is someone, I think that's his mouth, and then his head. But the guy is like heavy breathing, he's being hanged, and he has a boner. So a lot of people have thought that the opening is just for like shock value. It's just some ridiculous Emerald Fennell on her bullshit again, like the drinking the bathwater thing. And it kind of is. But for me, I had no real issue with it. I thought that was fine, especially because it does sort of work. It works for what the movie is trying to do thematically, which is zeroing in on these themes of like lust and self-sabotage, self-degradation. Like he's being hanged, he's dying, and yet he has a boner. You know, there's stuff in there about getting off on your own torture, in a sense. So that I thought worked fine, and I thought it was a good little fake out that they were doing. I had no issues with that. Then you move to the kind of exploring Kathy and Heathcliff's lives as kids. So if you don't know, Kathy, she lives in Wuthering Heights with her father and some like servants. They're like a wealthier family, not like really, really wealthy, but like wealthy. They're wealthy. Her dad at some point comes home with this little kid, Heathcliff, who he kind of like adopts, but adopts almost as more of like a servant child. Like he's not really treated like a member of the family. He's just kind of just treated like another servant, sort of. And this is part of the problem, is that I don't think the movie really explores the dynamic in the household very much. Especially, and this is where the race stuff comes in, of because Heathcliff is not white, he has a very othered status throughout the book. And it feels like the movie is trying to do that, trying to make him be kind of othered in this family, but it's just not, they really don't explore that a whole lot. And this is maybe just an issue with the formatting in general, to really explore the themes of the book. And even if she wasn't trying to do that, the stuff that she's kept from the book, to explore all of that and really dive into it and make me feel more emotionally invested. It should have been a mini-series. I don't think it ever really totally would have worked as like a 2-hour movie. You just have to spend so much more time in each of the, and she did cut like the entire second half of the book anyway. But even with the first half that she's working with and what she's trying to pull from the source material, it's like you needed way more time to break down all of that and to really explore this dynamic in this household. But Heathcliff is essentially Kathy's kind of like adopted brother in a sense, but she for sure has like a little bit of a crush on him, and her dad sucks, and it seems like he's abusive to both of them. And this is again where it's like, I don't properly feel like Heathcliff has been completely othered in this family, because it seems like the dad is actually just a dick to everybody. And there's one scene, one of the worst things that happens is that Heathcliff takes the blame for something that Kathy did, and which leads to him being beaten. And it didn't really work for me, because it does feel like she's trying to, first of all, establish Heathcliff as like a noble character, where he's stepping in to stop Kathy from being beaten. And I don't, and this is the problem too, where I'm like, with the themes of the book, I don't think that totally works. And then I'm like, well, if I'm not thinking about the book and I'm just thinking about the movie, what are the themes of the movie? And I'm like, I don't fucking know. I genuinely, like, I don't know. I don't think that, this is the problem of separating the movie from the book. It's like, I don't know that the movie really works without the book kind of informing what the movie is supposed to be about. But they do that. They have him get beaten by the dad for, he takes the blame for something Kathy did, and it's like, okay, it would have been better for me if the dad had just beaten him like almost unprovoked, so that you can really, really see how othered he is in this family. And then also, I don't really, there was some stuff that they pulled from the, like, there, at one point, Kathy says, she names Heathcliff, and she says, I'm going to name him after my brother who died. And she says it to the dad. And I'm like, well, your dad definitely knows that your brother died. You shouldn't need to say that to your father. He knows. It is clearly just dialogue that's meant to inform the audience. But then when I thought about it, I was like, for what purpose? I don't need to know that she had a brother who died. That doesn't really become relevant in the story at all. So why are you doing this information dump for information that is not necessary to this story? That was odd. But for the most part, I'll say that the kid stuff didn't bother me. I just think that it improperly sets up for the rest of the film. Then you move on to them as like teenagers-ish. It cuts to them as teenagers, but this is kind of another problem with the movie. Once they get to the teenage stage, they're just played by Jacob Elordi and Margot Robbie just for the rest of the movie. And there's not really much like makeup or anything done to make them look older. And it did get a little confusing at times where I was like, wait, how much time has passed? Where are we in the story at this point? That was a little frustrating. I mean, I could mostly figure it out, but I had to think about it a little bit too much. Where I was like, oh wait, okay, it's been like maybe 5 years since they last saw each other. So that was a little, I think the costuming and everything works most of the time, but I do wish that they had done a little bit more to try to age the characters. Let me see what I have in my notes here. So yeah, Wuthering Heights starts to fall into disarray because of her father's like alcohol and gambling addictions. Kathy then decides to marry a rich neighbor. And then this also bothered me, and I don't, again, I it's been a really long time since I read the book at all, so I don't think this is in the book. If it is, then I disagree with its inclusion there too. But she decides to marry her rich neighbor because he's like hella rich. And she's a woman, so like what the fuck is she gonna do? She's gonna get a job? No. So she decides to marry her rich neighbor because that's the best way for her to have a future and not like live in poverty for the rest of her life. And then as she's talking to her servant Nellie about that, she says something along the lines of, marrying Heathcliff would degrade me, even though she's definitely in love with Heathcliff. They haven't fucked or anything, but they're in love with each other. She says that marrying him would degrade me. He overhears that, gets all pissed off and huffy, walks away, goes away for like years. And then that becomes like kind of the center point of the movie. That's like the first real bit of conflict between Kathy and Heathcliff, and I just thought that was so stupid. It was like a rom-com trope in a movie that's not a rom-com. And this is the problem. She really did sand down the characters a lot to a degree that makes the movie not make a whole lot of sense, or not just have a whole lot of purpose. Like, in the book, they kind of suck as people. But she keeps kind of giving them these outs to still be, like, likable protagonists. And the rom-com misunderstanding aspect is kind of a part of that, where she doesn't want Kathy to just have made a decision that was kind of, like, greedy and selfish. Kathy easily could have just been like, yeah, I'm not gonna marry Heathcliff because I would like to have a richer husband. She could have just said that. They didn't need to do this whole misunderstanding thing of, like, they really do make it seem like if Heathcliff had just heard the whole thing that she said, I can't marry Heathcliff, it would degrade me, but I love him, then everything would have worked out. They hinge this whole thing on a misunderstanding, primarily, like, propagated by the servant Nellie, because Nellie, like, knows that he's overhearing, and she's, like, specifically trying to sabotage them the whole movie. They make it like that was the thing that actually, she like, what was I saying? They have Nellie kind of sabotaging them, and it makes it so that Kathy actually didn't have as much autonomy in that situation, that she didn't actually just decide to go with Edgar over Heathcliff. Nellie fucked her over. And that was where I was like, okay. Can we just let Kathy make a bad decision? Must we undermine it by being like, it was all Nellie's fault? So that was kind of one of the first big signs of trouble, of like, we're gonna do a rom-com misunderstanding here instead of just having the main character make a kind of selfish decision because she wants a better life. But so she gets a better life. She marries the rich guy, Edgar. Heathcliff comes back eventually. She's still really into Heathcliff. Heathcliff now has, like, this is the problem too, is like in the book, Heathcliff comes back because he wants revenge on the family. He wants revenge on Kathy, and he wants revenge on, like, the estate, on Wuthering Heights. But it's like, okay, what all happened to you in Wuthering Heights that makes you so angry? For sure, you do see some fucked up shit from their childhoods early in the movie when they're kids, but not enough. Not enough to justify this revenge plot. Like, oh, the misunderstanding is a part of the book? Well, it's dumb there too. It's so unnecessary to me to be like, oh, he overheard something the wrong way and now everything's fucked up. It's like, why not just say that Kathy made a bad decision? Just let him do it. But so, where did he get his mysterious fortune from? I don't think it's ever explained. I don't think they ever say in the movie. Or in the book. But he comes back, he's wealthy, still doesn't seem to be as wealthy as Edgar is. Edgar seems like fucking loaded. But, but Heathcliff comes back, he's pissed about something. In the book, it kind of makes more sense, because more stuff has happened to him. But in the movie, it's like, okay, you took the blame for Kathy doing something bad and then you got beaten. That wasn't really even you getting totally unfairly targeted. You knowingly stepped in to stop Kathy from being beaten. So it's like, were you really being treated that differently from Kathy? I don't know. It kind of seems like if you hadn't stepped in, Kathy would have gotten beaten. So what's the chip on your shoulder about? But that's the whole thing. He comes back, he wants revenge, and part of the way that he wants revenge is he wants Kathy. He wants to fuck Kathy and steal her away from this life. Though again, it's like the revenge stuff is so underdeveloped in the movie. It really seems like he just wants to fuck Kathy. But okay, So they come back, they have an entire affair. They do have sex, which I don't think that they have sex in the book, but they have a lot of sex in the movie. And I'm fine with that. I think that's okay. Some people have complained that it removes the tension. I think that it just sort of adds an extra dynamic. But I also don't think that the movie really sticks the landing with that dynamic. So it's like, I don't know. I was fine with it. I just wanted to see them fuck, if I'm being honest. But do I think it necessarily works for the story? No, not totally. But I think it could have. I think it could have worked for the story. But it didn't really. But I still liked it. There was a lot of tongue. A lot of tongue coming from Jacob Elordi's mouth, and you know what? I was here for it. I appreciated it. Thank you for that, Emerald. But, so they have this affair. You do feel bad for Edgar, mostly, because Edgar really did nothing wrong at all. And eventually, Kathy breaks it off. And then, Heathcliff starts... He turns his attention toward Isabella. Now, in the book, and I don't remember this much of it, I don't remember the details, but I know that in the book, Isabella is really just horrifically abused by Heathcliff. Like, it's bad in the book. He's nasty to her. In the movie, she's not being abused by Heathcliff so much as she just likes it. Like, he degrades her in many ways, but it is very clearly consensual. They have like a kind of BDSM relationship. And I don't know how I feel about that, especially when you put it in the context of what happens to Isabella in the book. It does feel somewhat victim blamey, of like, oh, what if the abuse victim liked it the whole time? But okay, let's remove it from the context of the book. Or actually, let's think about it in the context of the book. It's very possible, maybe you could make the argument that Emerald has just given this character agency that she didn't have in the book. And maybe that's actually nice, that it's like, okay, we're not just watching a woman being beaten and abused all the time. We're watching a woman who has a kink, who likes to be treated in a certain way. Okay, I guess that's easier to stomach. But then this feeds right back into the fact that, like, okay, the Heathcliff of this movie is just, he's not a big enough dick. In the movie, Heathcliff is just, like, kind of a bastard. And Kathy is kind of a brat, is the thing. Like, that's the entire tension. Is like, there are two people that are just, like, kind of shitty having an affair together. And it's like, is that compelling of a story? I think it can be. And I'll get to an example in a minute. But it is definitely very different from the book, where it's like, no, these are bad people. They're bad. And in the movie, it's just not that way. And it's like, it really is, she sanded down these characters quite a lot. And the thing is, I think that it could have worked in a different context. But the context is, I think she wanted the characters to be like Carrie and Big. And it just doesn't totally work. Because with Carrie and Big, neither of them are like super abusive people. Obviously the fucking actor who plays Big, different story. But Carrie and Big are mostly just like shitty, kinda. But like a normal amount of shitty. I guess Big is definitely more of a bastard. Like he sucks. I hate Big. But Carrie is mostly just a mess. And they have an affair. I'm sorry, I warned you about spoilers for Wuthering Heights. I am gonna now get into spoilers for Sex and the City, but it's been out for a very long time, so you had time. Carrie and Big have at least like 2 affairs in the show. One time, Carrie, or maybe both of the time, I don't remember, but Carrie is dating Aiden, and Aiden is sort of like the Edgar in this situation, where it's like, done nothing wrong whatsoever. And you feel bad for Edgar / Aiden that she's running off with this guy who's kind of a dick, and she's in this toxic situationship with this other man, even though her husband, her partner, has done absolutely nothing wrong and just seems like a good guy. Now, in Sex and the City, that works so much better. Number one, because Aiden is like a real character. He's in the show a lot. Edgar is like barely in the movie. He shows up enough for you to be like, I don't think this guy actually did anything wrong. What the fuck? But he's not in it enough for you to like really, really feel for him. I'm not necessarily rooting for Edgar. I don't think he deserves to suffer. But Edgar is not like a protagonist in any way. When Carrie is cheating on Aiden with Big, I feel really bad for Aiden because I actually know Aiden is like a full character. And I also feel kind of bad for Carrie in that instance too, because I know that Carrie is like self-sabotaging. I've spent enough time with Carrie as a character to understand that part of the issue for her was that Aiden was too stable. He was too reliable. She's too addicted to a chaotic relationship, so she keeps going back to Big because he is so emotionally distant. And there is something about her that kind of craves that. Like, I understand the dynamic between these characters way, way, way more than I understand the dynamic between Kathy and Heathcliff in the movie. I just don't spend enough time with them, and I don't really fuck with them that much either. And the worlds around Carrie and Big is so much more, it's so much more developed. Like, not only is Carrie lying to Aiden and self-sabotaging herself in her own relationship, she's also lying to her friends, that is the center point of Sex and the City. That is another betrayal of like having to watch her tell Miranda that she just got out of the dentist appointment when she actually was at Big's house. And then even with Natasha, Big's wife, whom he is cheating on with Carrie, you don't see a whole lot of Natasha in the show. You probably see more of Isabella in Wuthering Heights than you see of Natasha in Sex and the City. But when you see Natasha, it is really impactful, like, especially the way that they do it. I hate to just gas Sex and the City up, but, like, you spend so much time being at a distance from Natasha. You only see her from Carrie's perspective of, like, this woman that Big married after he broke up with Carrie, and you feel bad for Carrie because, of course, Big couldn't handle a woman as complex as Carrie, so he had to get this kind of, like, Stepford wife-looking woman and marry her. And you never really think about Natasha as like a full person until she catches Carrie at Big's apartment, knows what's going on. Oh, and Carrie was also fucking eating her takeout, by the way. Carrie is fucked up. But Natasha catches Carrie. She like chases her, and then she like breaks her, she falls downstairs, breaks her teeth. And that is where you actually get to see Natasha as like a full person. And it dawns on you of like, Carrie, you're fucking up so many lives here. Like, this was fucked of you to do. There's no dynamic like that in Wuthering Heights. There's nothing where I'm, like, actually that concerned about any of the people around Kathy and Heathcliff. I'm just sort of watching Kathy and Heathcliff fuck everything up and self-sabotage and not really give much of a fuck about other people. But I just don't know enough of the world around those characters to really give that much of a fuck. So I just kind of was left watching the movie being like, what is it I'm supposed to get from this? Because with these themes of like the idea that Kathy and Heathcliff are like addicted to the torture of their relationship. I'm like, but neither of them, there isn't much torture happening here. Like, they're just kind of in a situationship that's messy and toxic. But it's not to the degree that it was in the book where it's like, no, they're both like abusive people. And there's, you know, the moral complexities within that of like how these people even got to this point and how, and especially with her leaving out the second half of the book, which is about like the generational trauma and how after, spoiler, sorry, after Kathy dies, Heathcliff continues to like torture her children, which in the movie she doesn't even have any kids, but it's like there's so much extra stuff that the book is working with that the movie is just not. And even with what the movie is working with, I've seen it done better. I really have. And so I just, as far as the plot of Wuthering Heights goes, the 2026 film, all I can think of is like, why should I care? Why should I care? That being said, oh, and also, yeah, and they just make Nellie. They make her like a scapegoat for the whole thing. They kind of blame everything on Nellie and make her the new villain. And even then, they kind of imply that Nellie maybe is somewhat motivated in that because she is like the servant of Kathy, and you get the sense that Kathy has been really shitty to her, but again, you don't see enough of it. Where I'm like, what is Nellie's fucking deal? She is so underdeveloped as a character. And yeah, it's really... Does the movie work as an adaptation of Wuthering Heights? No. Does the movie work separately as an adaptation of Wuthering Heights? Does the story work? Also, no. That being said, I loved it. It was so good. It's like, there was a point watching the movie, especially like towards the end, there was a point where the music was so dramatic and what's happening on screen seems so dramatic. Like when you just look at it, you're like, oh my God, something really important is happening here. I was like tearing up. And as I was tearing up, I was like, why? I don't care about these characters. I don't care about them at all. Why are there tears forming? Because it is... Listen, Emerald Fennell, she's not a great writer. She's just not. She fucking sucks when it comes to like writing down a story. But god damn is she a good director. Oh my God. Visually incredible. I don't think that you can overstate how beautiful the movie is. It looks so good. The music, like Charlie's soundtrack, also the score outside of that, incredible, insane, so good. And then even just the general sound design on it. Like every time there was thunder, I was like, oh, that sounds like fucking thunder. I feel like I'm outside in a thunderstorm right now. Oh my God, it was so fucking good. And I will be watching it again. The story's a complete fucking mess. It has basically no point. And it was wonderful. I don't even know what to say. So I haven't yet put in my Letterboxd review. I was waiting until the end of the stream. So I'll put it in now. You can all be here. And remember to follow me on Letterboxd. It's Medusany. There I am. With a fucking shot from the filming of the Ed Gein video. I had to put on pause. Actually, I don't even think that's a shot. I think that was just from when I was filming. I don't think that specific shot is in the movie, the video. But that was from when I was filming. R.I.P. I mean, I'll come back to it eventually, but for the time being, I've moved on to something else. Anyway, follow me on Letterboxd. I'm gonna give it like... I'll give it 3.5. I watched it yesterday. I'll write some sort... What should I write for my review? I'll just write, well, it's directed by Emerald Fennell. Because that's really it. It's like, it's the most Emerald Fennell fucking film she's ever released. And she's only released 3 movies. And yet she has managed to distill her talents and her flaws so well in this one movie. Can we just, girl, can we get a co-writer? Can we get a co-writer? Or just maybe if there's anyone out there, if you're watching this and you're a screenwriter and you've written a brilliant screenplay, please send it to Emerald Fennell so that she doesn't have to write her own fucking movies anymore. Everyone needs to just send screenplays to Emerald. Get her to direct a different script other than something that she's written. Because homegirl cannot write like a decent screenplay to save her life. Maybe it's decent. Maybe to say that she can't write a decent one is a little harsh, but you can't write like a consistently good one. And it is what it is. Anyway, here we are. Nice short stream today. I get to turn 30 off camera. How nice. So we've got our Honorary Pop Girlies. I think we've only got 2 this week. So, first, obviously, Punch the monkey. So, he's been all over my timeline recently. This fucking monkey, I'm simultaneously delighted and sad. So this is a monkey who he's in a zoo in Japan, and I guess his mom abandoned him. So it says Punch was rejected by his mother shortly after birth and raised by staff at Ichikawa City Zoo in Japan. When he was introduced to other monkeys later on, he had trouble fitting in, something that can happen with primates raised by humans. To comfort him, caretakers gave him a plush toy, and he's often seen holding it like a surrogate companion. There he is, with this little stuffed toy. Oh my god. He's so fucking cute. And then here's a video of him snuggling with his toy. Look at him. Oh. I would die for that monkey. And then this is the thing. This already makes me so sad because I'm like, oh, he only has his little stuffed monkey. His mom abandoned him. That's so sad. But then the thing that makes me even sadder, this fucking video of him trying to go up to befriend the other monkeys, and they reject him too. Look at what they do. Look how mean they are to him. I want to beat up those monkeys. It's so awful. Now, thankfully, he has finally found an adult to groom him. So here's him getting the fleas picked out of his fur by another adult monkey. Punch is going to be okay. Oh. And he's got so many good reaction photos already. So it says Punch, who is going to be okay. Look at him. He is going to be okay, and we're all going to be okay. And Punch is our hero. Oh, he's so cute. I love him. Anyway, our final honorary pop girly of the day it is Stevie Wynn Levine, who was she was the voice of Good Mythical Morning. She's like the off-camera voice who tells our good mythical men, Link and Rhett. She gives them instruction, she answers their questions. she jabs at him a little bit. And she was the creative director, or like chief creative lead or something, of Good Mythical Morning, and she has been for 13 years. She has decided to leave Good Mythical Morning, which, good for her. I'm glad that she's exploring new things. I'm going to play the video, the departure video that she made, that they played on Good Mythical Morning. I don't want to support TMZ, but I did just have to put this in there because I think it's hilarious that TMZ is reporting on this. But yeah, she's an icon, and Good Mythical Morning is an iconic show. It was my, I don't even think I shared this on the streams, but it was my #1 most watched channel on my YouTube Wrapped of 2025. So I do love a Good Mythical Morning, and I love Stevie. And here's her final message.
Many of you know, Rhett started experiencing some heart issues in the summer of last year, and he underwent surgery in the fall. And the kind of gravity or the weight of those circumstances led to some important moments of reflection. And the guys and I had some serious conversations about life in general, about life outside of work. With everything going on in the world right now, and these larger life conversations that the guys and I have had, I've come to realize that I need to start putting myself first. And to do that, I need to find a way to go back to doing what I love the most, creating. And so, I never thought I'd be saying this, I'm leaving Mythical. Building this brand and making this show in particular has been a once-in-a-lifetime honor. I've dedicated nearly my entire adult life to Mythical. It's been my home. But I know, as hard as this decision has been to make, and as much as I'll be grieving this change, that it's the right one.
Group hug?
At least you guys get to be drunk.
There's a lot
drunk,
left over of that of a lot of those drinks.
So yeah, that's sad. And especially, it's not even just that her voice is going to be gone. She was like the chief creative officer. So I'll be interested to see how that affects the content of the show. Her last day is, I think, sometime in March, so like a month from the announcement. So that's sad, but I'm happy for Stevie that she gets to go on and explore other things, and Rhett and Link seem to be very supportive of her in that, which obviously, it's the bare minimum. She gave them 13 years of her life. She really was very instrumental to Good Mythical Morning, to the creation of that brand, not just Good Mythical Morning, but Mythical as a company. She's very important. We do love you, Stevie. You are a queen. You are an icon. You are an honorary pop girly. And we will miss you. Anyway, I'm gonna go turn 30 in 1 hour and 18 minutes. It's fucked up. I'll see you on the other side next week. Bye.